this episode's gonna be a little bit different because this is gonna be more of a tool. This is gonna be less of a like entry into the canon of hyper premium and work hard, and more of a like
it'll be a reference.
A reference point, yes. The idea here, but basically, is that we're gonna give Jason a way to link this video and say, listen, if you have a concern in this direction, you can listen to this.
Ethan and Jason. Now this is podcasting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This time Jason better not put my countdown in the episode. 3, 2, 1. He keeps teasing me and making me look like a dork. 3, 2, 1. Now you guys know that I am doing a bit. Okay, guys, welcome to Work Hard. We're going to try to make this fast because today's episode has, it could go a long time. So I'm going to kind of wrap everything up quickly on the front end so we can jump right in. Today we are going to have some, this episode's going to be a little bit different because this is going to be more of a tool. This is going to be less of a like, entry into the canon of hyper premium and work hard, and more of a like thing we can pull out and show to people. Mostly
it'll be a reference.
A reference point, yes. The idea here, but basically, is that we're going to give Jason a way to quit having to painstakingly respond to TikTok comments and just link this video and say, listen, if you have a concern in this direction, you can listen to this. And it's also so that I don't ever have to break character again. All right. So this is what you guys are going to get. You get one time today where I break character. I'm not going to do any bits. I'm not going to make any jokes today. It's going to be straightforward. I'm not going to do the whole shtick, but that's it. It's never happening again. Every time from here on out, it's all character. I'm never going back to being serious. It's all silliness from here on out. So don't come at me with issues with jokes. All right, look it up. I don't know. Figure it out.
Today we're going to explain why work hard is the way work hard is.
Yeah.
Work hard. Why do you got to be this way?
Why you got to be this way? Yeah.
Well, today you're going to find out. So I mean, let's start from the top. So basically, what we're going to do here today is go through several topics. Things that have been brought to us personally, and then a lot of stuff that we've engaged with, like on the internet, and just stuff that you and I have talked about off.
Yeah, and the stuff
stuff
we've talked about off camera that's been concerning for us. Things that I've had to repent of. Things we've had to change. And we'll explain that stuff as we go. So we'll start from the top here with topic numero uno. Are we starting with verbiage? Is that what we're starting with?
Sure, let's start with verbiage.
Okay. Cool. So particular words. We've had kind of one episode where we've talked about being provocative or being a provocateur, and how that's a scalpel and a careful tool. So we've had some feedback about using the F word, which I am loath to say the phrase the F word. But I'll explain why in a second. But
that's why Ethan never says the F word.
Yeah, that's why I don't say the F word anymore. Not it. I'll say that all day. But Oh, also, one thing I think is a caveat here is I'm going to say a lot of words. I won't say the F word, but
because the explanation.
Yeah, so hold on. Let's
Okay.
Just prepare your little ears to either hear bleep. We'll talk about whether it'll be bleeps or whether it'll be the actual word, but just prepare your little ears to hear heavy language today. Don't listen to this one around your kids. Maybe we'll just bleep it all and it won't matter, but I don't know. It's kind of difficult. We'll talk about it. But just before we get into this, prepare to hear slurs and expletives. We'll explain why we're going to do it, but just be prepared for that. Now, going into it, there are words that are useful. There are words that are not useful. I think that there's very few words that are not useful. And the F word being one of them. I used to think that it was as valuable as saying shit or ass or bitch, because it was provocative and attention grabbing. And I think that that's probably still true to some extent, but because the F word references a specific act that is turning something that's already beautiful by God into like a grotesque, aggressive thing.
Yeah.
It's
the most vulgar way to refer to sexual union.
Right. And so it's just not it's not appropriate. And maybe I'll revise this later on in a later date, but at this time right now, like what you'll see is like we've said that word on the show before. And then we went to censoring that word.
So old episodes it was not bleeped, and then it became bleeped all the time.
Yeah. And then now we just don't say it.
Yeah. So
and by we I mean I. Jason never said it.
Yeah, I didn't say it, but
and so that's that. So the F word's dropped. I've even prayed and repented of doing of that. That was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. We may have future conversations that lead to those episodes that include the word being taken down.
We'll see. We're not there yet, but we'll.
We're not. Yeah, we're not at that place yet, but we might. So that's one entry into the words. Now, the next thing that I want to say is like cussing generally. I think again, I've said this before, but we just want to kind of capture everything in one episode. So I'm sorry if this is redundant for you guys, but cussing can be used in a precision, laser-like way to either emphasize the vulgarity of the thing you're talking about, to show how disgusting it is that what you're talking about, how disgusting that thing is, or to shock, or grab the attention of those. It has to be done well and specifically. I think when you're when you're amongst your boys and things are down and you're having a couple beers and smoking a cigar or whatever, I think you can be a little bit more liberal with it, especially if you're around men who have their hearts guarded appropriately and know how to interact with that kind of stuff. I think you can maybe be a little bit more liberal, but generally speaking, especially in a context like this, it has to be specific. And that's why even when I use the words now, we just bleep them all. Part of that is because YouTube demands it in order for us to ever get monetized, which we hope to do one day. But another part is because the bleep in and of itself, I find to be pretty effective.
Funny.
Yeah, funny, and just as effective. So that's why there's some language that gets used every once in a while. But it's also why you used to hear the F word and you won't hear it anymore. Now, the next thing I want to tackle is slurs.
Can we go back certain words, though, as examples? And you use the word slut to describe a particular person. I think that caught some heat.
Yeah.
Using the word slut. And we defend the use of the word slut not as it is not us degrading women.
Right.
We are not degrading women as a whole. We are not saying, and have never said or intended to say, that women are sluts. General broad brush statement.
Right.
Never said that. What you were doing and what I defend Ethan in doing in that one episode was describing the behavior as a very negative thing. The behavior of a particular woman, a real life woman who was not named, but you were making the point of how abhorrent her life choices and behavior were at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll expand on these other 2 points later, but
and I will say that, like, the Bible also uses the word, I think multiple times in the prophets. They would refer to, or even God would refer to Jerusalem, to the Israelite nation, as a whore or whoring herself out.
Yeah.
So all over the place in the Bible, they use very graphic, very strong language. You are just giving yourself entirely and inappropriately to the world.
Yeah.
That is the context that we believe is good and biblical to use that when pointing out certain behavior. Not just going, this, casually saying, this slut over here, this bitch, or whatever.
Right.
Saying it like that is a lot different than saying, this woman, do not interact with sluts and whores. Do not interact with them. Just like you would say, and I know there's not an equivalent word for men, so it's not our fault.
I mean, it just is slut or whore. Maybe it doesn't have the same emotional impact that it has for people, but it doesn't have any technical, real difference in its use or its meaning.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think that that's more revealing to the people who hear it. And sorry, I just got a text. I got to turn it on silent. I think that that's more revealing. If you have a visceral emotional reaction to hearing a specific woman described as a slut versus having a specific man described as a slut, which people all do, that's more revealing to people in general, like to the people who are having that reaction, than it is about the word in and of itself. That means you have some hang up over here about women that you don't even understand. You're having this negative emotional reaction. Like, you can't call her that. Like, what if I said the same thing about like some famous playboy? You'd be like this.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. You'd be like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Women are not. Yeah.
Yeah. Women. Yeah. And we're going to talk about the women angle too, because I know that's another topic here. So we'll dig into that. But I'll just say this: women are not inherently just victims. I'll say that for now. But
one more thing about at least the Bible using very graphic words. The prophet Isaiah, in Isaiah 64:6, he wrote, quote, "But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags." Now, filthy rags is a cleaned up term.
Yeah.
Do you know what that term really refers to?
Not the specifics, but I mean, it's a period rag.
It means,
right?
yeah, menstrual cloth.
Menstrual cloth, yeah.
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 So it's a tampon, basically.
Right.
So so it's using something very graphic and repulsive and unclean to describe what our best acts are as human beings in our natural state.
Yeah.
So the Bible uses very graphic language, and so our aim, it's not that we always hit it. We've already acknowledged that we've said things or allowed things on the podcast in the past that we regret now. But our aim,
mine is just the F word, but yes.
What's that?
The only thing I regret saying so far is just the F word. Everything else I stand by.
Everything else, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the aim, though, the aim of the podcast, the aim of our speech is to use it in a way that is proper and not flippantly or too casually.
Yeah.
So I wanted to cite some examples of the Bible actually using pretty much the same thing that we've done in certain circumstances. And that is, like I said, that's our aim.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Go ahead. The next one, this I'm not going to present as necessarily like as a fact. So this is just like an opinion. This is one that I believe pretty strongly in, and I have an emotional investment in, just because it. I love friendship and I love human cooperation. I like it when people's barriers are not necessarily removed, but they're made maybe more opaque so people can be vulnerable and interact with each other at a greater degree. And slurs are this like really...
I'm sorry, do you mean opaque or transparent?
Opaque is slightly more transparent than not transparent at all, right?
I don't think so. Opaque usually means solid.
Oh, is that what it means?
I'll double check.
Double check. Whatever. I mean, whatever the one that's like vague, like more see-through than not see-through at all. Good catch.
Opaque means something that is not transparent or not easy to see through.
Okay. So whichever one is the one where it's just a little bit more easy to see through than you can't see through it at all.
Okay. Like privacy glass.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally the image I had in my head was privacy glass.
There
yes.
you go.
I like unity. I like unity. And slurs as they exist today are a very effective tool to keep people separated. And I don't mean that saying them is an effective tool to keep people separated. I say that what I'm saying is making them this faux pas where you can't say these specific words. It creates this tension in the air in between people when you are constantly aware that if you're a black person, you're constantly wondering, is someone going to call me a today? If that's what you're wondering, that is going to put you in a defensive position against non-blacks. It's very important to me that those words lose their power. It's very important to me that those words lose their sting. And one of the great things that really upsets me about this like idea that it's like only black people can say and only gay people can call each other or whatever, like is that puts black people and homosexuals in a cage. I've kind of explained this before in the past to Jason, where it's no, white people can't say like this is a person just like talking generally to, this is like some college professor talking to a black person. Now, white people cannot say that's your word. You can say it. They can't say it but that's the thing is that they can't say it because they're not that. You are. You're a so you can say it. You can say whatever you want because all of the evil and all of the distress and all of the lack of human value that's put in that word, that's you. You're that. They can't say that because they're not that. So you have all the damage and pain and the suffering that's attached to that word. You have that in your heart and you're less valuable. So you can say it, but they can't say it. To me, that's not true. A black person to me is not. They're a human being who I love. So we're all going to say it because it doesn't have any power to me. You're not that to me. To me, you're a valuable human being. And so we're all going to, we're not going to acknowledge that word has the strength that you've been told that it has, because that word has no meaning to me. It doesn't mean that that's what you are. You're not that. You're this, you're created in the image of God. You're my brother and I love you. I would never think of you that way. So, and when you say, well, you're not black, you're this, whatever, you are saying that's what I am.
I'm separate from you.
I'm separate from you, and I'm this derogatory thing that gives me the authority and the power or whatever to say that because I am this thing. My life is awful. My life is awful because I've been hold on. Got to fix the
Technical
difficulty. My life is awful, or it's denigrated by my unchangeable, by my skin
heritage.
Color. Yeah, and it's not like in the case of the N-word, it's not you can't make the argument that it's like, oh, white people or racism or whatever makes it that way and makes black people feel that way. The N-word is like paracausal in its like innate desire to have evil. Like the way people view it, the way people put meaning on it, like it instantiates itself, if that makes sense. So it's like the only way to nullify that is to just say, listen, we are not going to acknowledge that this word has this power. It's just a word. It's not part of your identity. It's not part of my identity as being lacking in that aspect of my life. It's not part of anybody's identity. That word is just a word. So we're just going to say it. And so that's why, like,
so you're saying that word has a lot of power right now, but you'd like it to not have the power.
That word has a lot of power right now.
And that's not to say, you're not saying that words don't have power.
All right, I'm not saying that word doesn't have power. I'm saying,
or that words shouldn't have power.
Right.
Right?
Right. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that word right now is used as a way, it's
to
not
keep black people in a box.
Yes, to keep black people in a box. In a box I don't want them to be in. Yeah. I don't think they should be in. That isn't true. And the only way that you can get rid of that box is to just say,
cut it open.
Just cut it open. Okay. We're just going to say this word until no one cares about it anymore. And I'll give you a very good example. I was homeschooled most of my life up until about middle school. And so I'd never heard the word before. Okay. Ever once. I got into public school in a small town in East Texas, and everyone said it.
Yeah.
And it just meant someone who steals. It had no racial value whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Black people used it, Mexicans used it, white people used it, and it was just meant someone who steals. That's what it meant.
Okay.
I had no idea for like a year and a half that it was a racial slur.
Black people?
Yeah, until I said it in front of my parents. They were like, whoa!
You can't say that.
You can't say that.
Where'd you learn that word?
Yeah,
You're like, everyone?
Yeah, I was like, literally all of my friends. Yeah. Everyone. Their parents. Like, yeah. And I grew up in a town where the rebel flag did not have any racial inclinations.
Well, Chris Rock had a bit about the how you would talk about black people and being different. He goes, and come over to your house and be like, and then basically scope it out to steal stuff later.
What am I saying?
And he was hide your money in your books. He's like, why? Because don't read.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like, even him in it, like, I don't know if that was back in the early 2000s when he said that. It's been a bit now. Yeah. Maybe 90s. I don't know. But he was acknowledging there was a difference. He's like, this is not all black people. He's like, I'm using it for certain lower class people who are immoral,
right?
Thieves,
right? And when I was growing up, it was used without assignment to race for lower class thieves. That's what it was used for. And no one would get maimed by the usage of that word. Like if you called your friend that word, they wouldn't be like, oh gosh, oh whatever. Like it was just a joke. We're just joking. You stole my pencil. Now I'm going to say it.
Yeah. Give me my pencil back.
Yes. And there's a really phenomenal video that I've showed Jason before of it's like a street interview guy. It's nighttime. I got by the bars or whatever. And there's a Mexican guy and he says to all my whites, all my Mexicans, all my niggas, and he says it as a couple brothers
are walking behind him.
A couple black guys walk behind him, and the one black guy pokes his head into the conversation. He goes, "What did you just say?" And the Mexican guy turns around and said, "I said my niggas because I'm Mexican. I can say it." And the black guy stares at him for a second, and then he goes, "Orale!" And they just like dap up, and the music starts playing, and it's really very funny. And there is this moment where if you drop, there's like this phenomenal moment of unity where once you drop the barriers that you've built between each other and embrace one another, it's like extremely inspiring and very warm and very human. And
yeah, it was a cool video.
Yeah, it's a very fun video to watch. And
although it did insinuate to me that it was because he was also a lower class,
right?
He's
a non-white.
He was a non-white, so he could say it. It was still excluding whites in the way he said it.
Yeah. That's true.
Like,
but the point I want to extract from that video,
it was at least one is
that it's at least one barrier dropping, and these two guys coming together.
Yes,
and we can drop all the barriers if we so choose.
Yeah.
Now, that is kind of a if people would just argument.
I just thought people are never going to adjust.
People are never going to adjust, but it's not. I'm not saying people should adjust. I'm saying I'm going to say it for all of you until everybody
other people become
relaxed.
comfortable with it and stop.
Yeah,
puckering up.
Yeah, and part of it is just desensitization. Well, I'm not even going to try to say it. My mouth is. I've got cotton mouth from having too much nicotine. So. That's, I think, the point of saying pejoratives is or slurs is useful in that regard, because it destroys the power of that word. Now, if you use it, obviously, it's like everything else.
It's how you use it.
It's how you use it.
A sword can be used for defense,
right,
or for violence,
right. If you're
oppression.
using it to be angry and vitriolic and hatred or hateful, then yes, it's a weapon. And you ought not do that. You shouldn't use any words at all to be vitriolic and hateful. You don't have to use racial slurs or any kind of slur to do that.
Did you ever watch Rescue Me with Dennis Leary?
I watched a couple episodes. Yeah.
There's a great scene because they're firefighters, and firefighters, live with each other for 24 hours at a time at least. Yeah. And they have like a Puerto Rican, and like they got like Dennis Leary's character is Irish and whatnot, so they have a variety. I think there's like an actual black guy, a Puerto Rican, white guys, there's a woman on the team, and they all say all kinds of slurs all the time.
Right.
And they even have like an open discussion. I think they have one of those HR like sensitivity things, and they're like, then they get in an argument over like the Puerto Rican guy's like, it's not fair. He's like, the Irish guys have so many slurs. They got this. He's like, we only get one. He's like, he was like getting defensive over how few slurs the Puerto Ricans had.
Well, I mean,
and that sort of thing, though, it's like they all love each other.
Yeah. Well,
they love each other because they live with each other so much, but they're relating to each other in a joshing, shoulder punching, I'm going to call you a nasty word, but like as my brother, not as like you over there, you suck, your people stay away from my people kind of way.
Well, here's one of the reasons why men talking smack to each other is so important, and why, like, it's another element of why this is important, is because...
Not to mention every war movie ever made.
Right, yeah. So you have... it is a fantastic way for men to signal their love for each other without having to be...
mushy
and be like, oh, I love you, bro, is by saying something, you Mick redheaded... lanky mother, like saying that to Jason. Jason knows that
you lanky redheaded wasp.
Yeah. It's like Jason knows that it's okay for me to say that to him because he knows I love him.
Yeah.
And so it's a way for us to signal that it's like, we're cool.
It's affection.
Look, we're so cool. We love each other so much that we can insult each other to our faces.
Would that work though if it wasn't actually a slur though? Now I'm curious. If those words lost their power, would you even call people that anymore? Even in that, would you lose? I
think so, because you have like old guys, like you get an old guy walk in and just be like, oh, look at this ugly son of a gun walking in. Like none of those words have any real hate, weight to them, even removed from that element. It's
because son of a gun used to refer to. Like fatherless children who were fathered by, I think, naval soldiers.
Okay.
I think it was specific to the British military at a time, and the women who quote unquote serviced the military would have children, and those children were referred to as son of a gun.
Son of a gun, yeah.
Because you don't know who the father was, sadly. Right. So anyway, it has a sad origin, whatever it is.
Yes, but the origin was nullified by people
using it, and history and time has just diluted that to where it's like, I'm not even sure that's right.
Right. Now nobody knows now it has no weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can't use it to maim people who...
Yeah, if you went, you son of a gun, somebody like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any... that's it. That's all you got. So, like, the more you use it, the more desensitized people become to it. Got it? And the less power it has. And I think that that's ultimately useful and healing for... everyone as a whole, and it's a great way to tear down these boxes that minorities and people who suffer from particular types of sin are put in, and identities that they either adopt or have shoved on them in order to lock them in those patterns of behavior that are not necessarily positive for them.
Detrimental.
Yeah. So that's slurs. Next on the agenda is jokes. So we recently, and this is kind of in jest, this is not a serious complaint somebody gave me, but they were kind of making fun of me for saying that circumcision is
modern day circumcision.
Modern day circumcision is a like CIA Jewish method of sexual torture to like dehumanize Western men, which is an insane thing to say. So he's rightfully making fun of it, and it was funny. But this particular part of the episode, I kind of want to, when people hear me say something insane, when I'm in character and I'm doing a bit, I want people to be able to have a moment where I can go, listen, I'm not going to explain the joke to you. I'm not going to explain how jokes work. But I did once. So here's the video where you can go watch me explain how jokes work. So when I'm saying something absurd, my immediate assumption is that, and this was this guy's immediate assumption. His brother was actually the one that brought him to it. Was like, why do you say this? And he's like, I think he's just kidding. When I say something absurd, my usual assumption is that people are going to hear that and go, oh, he's just saying something ridiculous to get a rise out of people or make a joke, be funny.
Which is partially true. Sometimes largely.
Usually mostly.
So to be fair.
Yeah. Now, I understand that for whatever reason, that doesn't always click with people. Like sometimes people do not understand absurdism, whatever. I'm not going to dig into that, but
we will get to who the podcast is for as well.
Yes.
So another section coming up.
Yeah. So the absurdist kind of angle of saying insane stuff like that. It's two prongs. One, it is a crazy generalized blanket statement that doesn't really make much sense in like the context of everybody and like whatever. But it does have a kernel of truth, which is that there is a concerted effort amongst several different particular groups of people to hypersexualize the population. That's true. This is not the episode to break that down. But that is the case. So there's the kernel of truth in that ridiculous statement. The next thing is that there's, in the case of the circumcision thing, there's like, to get to that joke, to get here, there's like 4 books that I've read and a bunch of different like studies and information I've come across and all this. This is the tip of the iceberg of the like sexual torture thing.
The hyper condensed version,
the hyper condensed
form.
Yeah. So a meme, this idea of like, there was this term going around in like the 2016 election during Gamergate and all this stuff called meme magic. I think it's kind of a cringe term, whatever. Not going to split hairs there. But the idea is that in like 2 sentences and a picture, a meme, you can communicate an hour and a half's worth of painful, diligent explanation. Boom. In one picture you can read in 2 seconds. Everybody gets a laugh. People think whatever. That's a joke. That's what it is. A joke, that is a big part of what a joke is I can abstract all this information. Once it's abstracted, I can then distill it down to its most refined element and say it in a sentence. And then, yes, it's going to sound insane because it's got a tremendous amount of information behind that one sentence. So there are times where it's going to sound very crazy, especially if you've not engaged with any of the material that's under the water, under the surface.
Yeah, if that's all foreign to you, this joke's not going to land.
Right.
And so if it doesn't land, just go, oh,
I don't understand what he's talking about. Yeah, or just look it up. So I'll give you an example. With the circumcision thing, there's a book that many, many health professionals use. I've seen it in a ton of health professionals' offices. It's a very good book. It's and it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's this concept basically expressed in here that there is both emotional and physical trauma that stays with you, contained in your body as like tightness or pain or discomfort forever, for years. So like when you go into the doctor and you're like, my leg hurts, and they do all this testing and they can't figure out what's going on, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It may be a psychosomatic thing from trauma that you've had when you were a child or whatever. You got in a car accident and your back still hurts 10 years later. None of the doctors can explain it. Everything's fine. We've looked at your body. It's healed correctly. There's nothing here that should cause any pain. Or, oh yeah, we're going to have to get surgery. We're going to have to fuse this thing together or whatever. It may not be that there's actually something physically wrong with your body after this car accident.
So the full title is The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. It's a 2014 book by psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk. And it's one of the most influential works on trauma and its long-term effects on both the mind and body. So he argues that trauma is not just a psychological issue.
Yes.
It embeds itself physically in the body, changing how people think, feel, and even how their nervous system functions.
Yeah, and so that book is one example of the things that I've read that got me to the idea that if you cut the tip of a child's penis off when he's...
That their body will remember that.
Their body will remember that, and they'll hold that tension or pain, whatever, further into their lives, and that may come out as malfeasant behavior. Pain, malfeasant behavior in a sexual way.
All sorts of... Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So that's just part of the joke that I was making. Now, do I really believe that circumcision at the end of the day is the defining factor or even a significant part of the hypersexualization of the Western man? Not necessarily, not really, no. Because if you look at Europeans, none of them are circumcised, and many of them are just deranged beyond belief. Like, sorry, I'm not. That was a bit.
That's the character.
I said I wasn't going to do it. That was a bit. If you look at
Europeans, I saw it come in, and I was like,
if you look at Europeans, many of them are not circumcised, and many of them suffer from the exact same ailments that Westerners do.
Yeah.
Or not Westerners. They're Westerners. That Americans do.
The point is that circumcision is clearly not the only factor.
Right.
Or it might even be a minimal or negligent factor.
It may have no effect at all. It may be positive. It may be the one thing we're doing that's keeping guys from acting like animals. I don't know. But the joke was sexual torture
linked to physical pain as a child that you don't remember.
Right.
That your body may or may not hold.
Yeah. And so that...
According to a psychiatrist who wrote a book that is widely revered in the realm of experts in that field.
Right. So it's just when you hear something absurd, when I say something crazy, understand that I'm doing a bit. Okay, go watch an Andy Kaufman stand up and then go, oh, he's just doing this. Maybe I'm not doing it as well, obviously.
He's not Andy Kaufman.
I'm not Andy Kaufman, but it is, I'm doing a bit. It's a joke, and you just don't get it. And that's fine. That's okay. There are plenty of jokes I don't get. There are 100 times, 100 times a week, I read something that's clearly supposed to be a joke, or I watch a video, whatever, and it just
like a flock
right over
of
my
birds.
head. Yeah, and I go,
okay,
I don't get it. And then I just go, well, I'll never watch this guy again because his humor is not, he's referencing something I don't understand.
Yeah.
So
different world.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Not for me.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So that's jokes, all right? That's how jokes work. I'm glad you guys heard that here. There seems to be plenty of you who struggle with that, mostly on TikTok. TikTok is like where all of our haters are. They're all there.
It's all, the problem also is that it's such a short format.
Yeah.
And that they don't seem to realize that that's only part of the argument that's being made.
Yeah.
It's a teaser. It's a trailer. It's like watching the trailer and like, I don't understand what happened to the main character.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not
supposed to.
Does he win?
Does
he win? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Watch the movie. So that's for TikTok. Like, guys.
Yeah. So that's a joke. So, I mean, what's the next thing? What are we talking next?
How about we go with Jews?
All right, let's go.
We didn't cover them in Slurs, but I think we make plenty of Jew references, and I even made a Jew joke last episode, poking fun at you.
That's true. You did make a Jew joke. Yeah,
yes.
That was funny.
So I'll explain my position. So here we go.
Okay.
Jews.
Dun dun.
Dun dun. That's gonna spoil it if I actually find that sound effect.
So. Yeah. Go ahead.
You've made enough Jew jokes and references that if you've listened to enough of Work Hard over time, you understand that about Ethan. And so my joke was in that context of poking fun at Ethan for doing something that I recognized from a fictional depiction of the Jewish government,
right?
The Israeli government.
I think part of your joke was that it's that I say that about Jews is retarded, and you don't agree with it, and it sounds absurd.
Yes, it was poking fun at you for making fun of Jews.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So this goes back to the joke thing.
Right.
It's a joke.
Right, it's a joke.
Okay, so from my own position, just so it's here and stated, I either don't know enough or don't care enough to have a really strong opinion on Jews.
Yeah.
I haven't spent a lot of time, or any time really, researching the Jewish question, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not terribly concerned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it's like if you, there are bad actors of any race in higher, I think positions of power naturally attract people who seek power, obviously.
Yeah.
They want power, they want influence. And yes, statistically, I haven't looked at the stats. Everyone says there's a high percentage of Jews in Hollywood, in media, in the wealthy circles, in politics, and that they pull a lot of strings.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people are concerned over whether or not we should, quote unquote, do something about it. Yeah. It's like,
I don't know.
First off, I don't know what kind of do something about it would result in a really horrendous thing that I wouldn't be a part of. So that's where I kind of leave it. And I go, okay, whatever. And I'll be wary, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't meet someone and they say, oh, I'm Jewish. And I'd be like, oh, I don't immediately recoil and go, oh no, they're trying to whatever me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't have that much of an opinion about it. So I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's like makes me think of Dave Chappelle talking about, chicken and watermelon and how he's like, I'm tired of how people saying chicken and watermelon aren't good together. They're great.
Yeah.
He goes, what people eat, he's like, it's not a reason to hate somebody. He goes, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's not a reason to hate someone.
Not a reason to hate somebody, yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
Right.
It's
funny.
Like, if there's a Jewish thing that I can poke fun at and poke fun at my friend who has a bigger issue with it maybe than I do, I'll poke fun at him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything really about Jews or my stance on what we should do with them. To me, it's laughable.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, that's where I stand on the Jewish thing.
Yeah. So, my position requires more nuance. So, and my position is actually not a position on Jews; it's a position on race. So, I think that, we got so lost in conversation before this episode, I forgot to do it, but I was going to pull up a few verses that I've used in the past.
Do you want me to look at them for you now?
Yeah, just look up the word nations in a word search.
Just on Google or in ChatGPT?
Just in Scripture, just whatever you want to use for a word search.
Okay.
So I think, and there are several verses that I would reference that hopefully I will be able to reference. Maybe we'll have to edit this in. But there are several scripture verses that I would reference that establish that God made nations on purpose. Nations are people groups, ethnic people groups that are come together to be like organized. Every nation of people, every ethnic group, they're made up of individuals, and individuals and this is not controversial. Everyone would concede this. Every individual is going to suffer from their own particular types of temptations. There are going to be things that are particularly tempting to each person. Everybody has that. Everybody knows, every good, honest Christian knows, well, I in particular am geared towards sexual sin, or I in particular, I have to guard my heart specifically against greed.
Yeah.
I have to guard my heart specifically against
hate,
malice. Yeah. These kinds of things. Funny enough, I know you guys that listen to this probably don't think this is true. One of the things that I particularly have to guard my heart against is knee-jerk empathy. I am an overly empathetic person. I am way too willing to give people, like groups of people, benefit of the doubt, or like trust people too far. I have to guard myself particularly about, especially like with my daughter is a great example. Like I'll give my daughter way too much
lead.
Yeah, way too much. But now individuals make up groups. All right, you've got a body, whether it be a company, a nation, an ethnic group, whatever. And each person is a cell. And if each of these cells has a particular sin problem, then the body will have that particular sin problem. In that way, you can say...
Just because of whatever the majority has the most issue with,
right,
would also dictate what that group.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to tie this...
Because that ethnic group would have been all together passing on its genes
and their culture and their
condensing
genes,
that particular sin is your argument, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And so white people suffer particularly from neuroses and from, funny enough, neuroses and self-aggrandizement at times. White people also can be overly black and white and removed from some of the more spiritual aspects of humanity. Jews can be nefarious and scheming. Blacks can be prone to violence. Mexicans can be, or the Latin people can also be prone to violence. They're also highly susceptible to falling to their passions. They're passionate, happy, gregarious people. They can, there's a substance abuse issue that happens quite regularly in Mexico or in Latin populations. They can give in. They get pretty horny. They can be like that. You're around a group of Latin men for more than like 35 minutes. Cell phones come out. Look at that picture of her, like whatever. Okay. There was a guy I used to box with who was a Mexican from Mexico, and he would always show me pictures on Instagram of girls with large hind ends and go, big house. And I would go, big house. And he'd go, this is a big house. And then he put it away. And that was it. That was his whole that was like his whole thing. And so there's every
people group has
people group has stuff, just like every person has stuff. It's not unique. It's not special. No one group no one sin is worse than any other sin before the eyes of God. Everyone is equally fallen. And so no one group is elevated above the other in how its sin is less than or what.
We're not saying that white people's sin is less than Mexicans.
Yeah,
or blacks,
let's look at white
whatever.
people's sin. I mean, I don't want to be an SJW about this, but look at white people's sin. I mean, this idea of colonialism, while it's gay and retarded and is used as a weapon against whites, it's not totally, the reason why it's been such an effective tool is because it's not totally bereft of truth.
Yeah.
It isn't. Like, what other globe-trotting group has gallivanted around shooting dissenters in the back of the head and stealing spices, Like the Mongols we don't hold a flame to the Mongols.
Many.
Yeah, not many. I mean, the Mongols really took it away with that, but whites have their own sin. Now, there was a time in human history when whites were particularly sinful and needed to be called to account as a group. All right, the Bible does that all the time. Calls nations as a group to account.
There'd be whole tribes
wiped from the earth,
wiped out because they were
so sinful.
Yeah, and the Israelites were judged repeatedly
as a group. Yes. So there are times in history.
Do you want the verses about the nations, or?
Yeah, hit me with a couple of those.
So we got 3 Old Testament ones. There's Genesis 12:2. It says, quote, "And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing," unquote. Psalm 22 verse 27 says, "All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of the nations will bow down before him."
That's the one I want. It would just be that verse over and over and over again.
Okay.
That I would have. The Lord speaks about nations. He keeps referencing nations. All of the nations will bow. Everyone, like it is referenced over and over and over again that the way that the Lord considers like humanity is broken down into people groups, and these people groups are capable of unique sin, just like individuals. And there are times in history when certain people groups need to be called to account. There are going to be times in your life where you are just in a state of open rebellion or intensely wallowing in your sin versus your brother who may not be. And then 10 years later, it may flip where your brother is wallowing in some particular sin and you are in a great state of compliance and walking with God in a really healthy way. And it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, but it means that maybe he's just in a rougher patch than you are, just like you were years prior.
And you're called to pull him out of the mire.
Exactly. And so there's right now in history, the state of Israel exists and it is operating in a genocidal, really hostile way towards particular groups of people and in a hostile way towards basically the whole world. You can look this up, man. This is not, you don't have to go full on battle Europa or like Europa, the last battle, whatever that's, there's low IQ, like full on anti-Semitism. That's just retarded and like just on its face, you listen to it. You're like, not only is none of this information verifiable, I'm pretty sure it's insane. So if you look it up, like you might run into a little bit of that, but you can also, it's not a condensed joke. It's an 8-hour long, like multi-episode documentary about why the Jews are responsible for literally every evil that exists in modern America or in modern everything. Not only were the Jews actually responsible for World War II, Hitler was actually good. This documentary.
Gotcha, yeah. All the way.
All the way.
Not what we are
what we are advocating for here. I think that Hitler.
If we make a joke about Jews, it's not that.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not what we're making. The joke I'm making when I make a joke about Jews is right now, in this time in history, in particular, this ethnic group is in a state of sin and needs to be called to account. That's the assertion I'm making.
Okay, fair enough.
And hopefully, none of me or my soon to be my recent I hope that whites are not in a state of sin in the future or near future. They're gonna be,
time goes on long enough.
Time goes on long enough.
Jesus tarries.
Yeah, whites will circle right back around to colonizing Mars, and doing something like finding Martians and beating them or something.
We'll do something.
Yeah, we'll find some way to be really sinful. And I think one of the things that whites need to be called to account for right now that their sin is this neuroses, this self-inflicted gunshot wound of just constantly being like, oh, we're white, we're bad, we're evil,
the white
whatever.
Guilt.
White guilt is a sin. That is a sin.
You're feeling guilty over the color of your skin and your populace after there's been repentance,
right, is
a sin. Feeling guilty over a sin that you've confessed and received forgiveness for is sin. If you
are saying that your judgment is higher than God's.
Right, that God cannot forgive you that sin. It is not actually washed, so you should still feel crappy about it.
Right.
That is the devil or your own neuroses.
Yeah.
Well, the devil certainly loves that you do that, is that you wallow in it and go, oh yeah, I'm groveling. I'm a terrible person. I'm so white.
Yeah.
Or just... please I'm going to put myself in fake chains and bow before black people and beg forgiveness for what my ancestors did.
Right. Yeah. It's a fool's...
It's groveling.
Yeah, it's groveling. It's a fool's...
That's sin.
Yeah, so right now I just think we happen to be in a place when Jews need to be called to account. They do have a lot of power, and listen, this is like a Nick Fuentes point. This isn't even my point. Jews are very intelligent. To argue against that is to argue against basic evaluation.
It's been proven as much as something can be proved.
Yeah, they're very intelligent people, and they have, because they are intelligent and many of them are very industrious, they've been trusted with a lot of different decision making.
The cream will rise to the top.
The cream will rise to the top. Now, they also have maybe one of the highest in-group preferences of any other group, maybe other than Indians. They will hire, they will explicitly, they are totally fine with being we are only hiring Jews here. And so they suffer, and that is to their detriment, because they are now having to suffer the consequences of nepotism that has caused them to bring on a bunch of incompetent Jews who are not incompetent because they're Jews. They're just incompetent people, and they also happen to be Jews.
Yeah. But they were brought on because they're Jews. Because of the in-group preference.
Right, because of the in-group preference, and they were brought on, and now everyone's noticing. Like, no one would notice that there's lots of Jews at the top if everything was humming along normally.
Yeah. It's just like, golly, life is pretty good.
They would probably be like, dude, Jews are sick.
Yeah.
Like, the guys who did notice
Keep
it
them
would be
coming.
like, yeah, they'd be like, these guys are running the show great.
Yeah.
But because the show's not being run well right now, everyone's going to start pointing fingers and trying to figure out why it's not being run well. And you got one group of people at the top.
high level of Jews.
Yeah, then they're going to notice high levels of
it's
Jews.
Them.
And go, yeah, it's them. And it's like, well, in reality, it's just that the things are not going well. And that there are many, like the complexity. Reality is too complex to just hang all of your woes on one single.
Which would be a white thing.
Yeah.
It's black and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Jews there.
You
tell me what the problem is.
Yeah, I'm not making any money because Jews run the banks, which is, first of all, not. What are we talking about?
They need you to make the money. They need you to make money to make money.
Yeah, but it's also the financial world. Jews are not actually in anywhere near as powerful as people like to claim they are. Anyways, I don't want to hammer too much on the Jews or the race thing. That's the race point. People of all ethnic groups. I do want to make one caveat, which is that I'm fully aware that data related to massive groups of people does not translate well to individuals. I made this point before, but I do want to maybe alleviate some stress you're feeling from hearing me talk like this and saying, I'm going to give you an olive branch and saying that there's black people account for somewhere between 13 to 17% of the population, something like that. They also account for 50 to 60% of all the violent crime in the country. So
yeah, disproportionate.
Just very widely disproportionate. That means that if you're given let's say that somebody put a black guy's picture on a card and they put it in front of you and they said, you have $100. You have to bet 100 of your dollars on whether or not this black guy is a criminal. Or I'm sorry, reverse that. Strike that. Maybe we'll edit that part out. Okay. You have to decide whether a violent criminal is black or not. Okay? They put a black guy on a card, they turn the card over, and they say, this person whose picture is on this card, this person is a violent criminal. You have to bet right now whether or not that person's black. It would be irresponsible to bet that it's anything but a black person because they represent 50 to 60% of the crime rate. So you turn it over, likely they're going to be black. But if you take an individual black guy and say you have to bet whether or not this individual black guy is a criminal, it would be irresponsible to bet that he is a violent criminal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Individually speaking, it is not a great idea to try to take mass numbers that are distilled up from massive populations and push them on an individual. You are most likely going to be wrong. So when you get these broad sweeping racial statements that I've just made, when you break that down onto an individual person, it's a radically different game. So to say that Jews by their ethnic makeup or whatever
are most likely to be
scheming, conniving, whatever.
People.
When you meet an individual Jew, it's not a great idea to assume that person is a conniving wizard of money or whatever it is that you want to say.
Whatever you think they are.
That's just a person. It just is a person with the last name Berg. It's not to make any assumptions based on stats at a massive level on an individual is going to bite you in the butt because you're going to make bad decisions based off that information.
Quick statistical thing. You were very close with the 2024 estimate. Black alone or in combination is 15.2%.
Okay.
And then general arrest statistics, black or African-American individuals account for 26.6% of all arrests, and arrests by crime type, African-Americans, 55.9% of known race offenders for homicide.
Okay.
Murder is 51.2, robbery 52.7, and the other numbers are lower. But yeah, so for the violent crimes,
right,
50 to 60%. You're right.
Right, but again, that doesn't mean that when you meet a black guy, it's okay.
He's not 50% likely to be a murderer.
Right. Yeah. It's not okay to be like, this is a. It's not okay to hear what Jason just told you and make decisions
about individuals you meet.
Right.
In that context,
it's just not that is
irresponsible.
It is irresponsible,
immoral.
Yeah, it's just not good. So, so that's the race issue. That's the Jew thing. All people suffer from sin. All people groups suffer from sin. In particular, it does appear, just based off of
Christ
what's going on,
died for all of us.
Yes.
We are all grafted on, all believers from every blood, every race, every nation, every language, every people group are grafted in to the branch
of Christ.
Or all branches grafted into the vine of Christ.
Yeah.
And so we are all brothers and sisters together. We all struggle with different things.
The thing that matters is how possible is it for God to regenerate a group? That's the thing that matters. And God is equally capable and equally willing to regenerate all people.
Yeah.
So there is no that is the thing that makes everyone equal. At the end of the day, the thing that equalizes all of us is how much does God love you? And the answer is infinitely everyone.
If you're elect.
Doesn't God...
He says that Jacob I have loved and Esau I have hated. There are people who are elect and there are people who are not elect.
Oh, I thought he just mourned their loss, but loves them equally.
He says he chose to hate Esau.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
it's a hard.
Okay. Well,
that may be, I'm sure some people would debate that, but that is, and you can look
for
that up.
For the sake of what Jason just said, I'll revise what I just said too. The Lord is not electing on racial lines.
No, certainly not.
Lines.
Certainly not.
So
we don't know what his criteria is.
Yeah, we have no idea what his criteria
because
is.
Because he saves some people that none of us would have saved.
Yeah, he saved Jeffrey Dahmer.
He could have saved Hitler. Theoretically.
Theoretically, yes.
I'm not saying there's any theory that he did. I'm saying
I think
it would have been possible.
Hitler was an occultist.
It would have been possible for God to save him if that had been what God chose to do.
I
would not have been above God's ability to do so.
Right, to regenerate
despite
Hitler.
all of his sins.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next? Oh, the big one.
Time to talk about the ladies.
Women.
Why are you saying the H?
I don't know. All right, girls. So I have taken several very strong stances on women. This is very similar to the racial argument. Okay. It's just another group. All right. Women are predisposed to specific types of sin. Many of those types of sin, God spells out. Not many, but telling Eve that she's going to whatever. I can't remember how he specifically words it, but
he says that your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you.
Right. Yes.
And desire being you'll want his responsibilities,
right.
His role. You'll want to be in charge.
Right.
And he will rule over you. He's still going to rule over you, and you won't inherently like it.
Right.
I think, ironically, you will be more at peace if you subjugate yourself to a good husband.
Mm-hmm. Good husband. Good caveat there, yeah.
You are still going to honor God by subjugating yourself properly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying do evil things because your husband who's evil tells you to do evil things. You're still responsible to God above all that.
Yeah.
We have never intended and have never said, I don't believe, that you should submit to your husband in doing wicked things. He's still under God.
Yeah.
So I'm just clarifying that.
Yeah.
It's here and documented now.
Yes. In the same way that Jason and I believe Jason and I would both advocate for people to rebel against their government if their government was demanding they do wicked things.
Correct.
We also believe that women are called to rebel against wicked leadership in their home.
Yeah, one of David's wives actually went against her husband's wishes before she was David's wife.
Before she was David's wife, yes.
Yeah. It was Abigail, right?
Yeah.
Abigail went against Nabal's wishes because Nabal was an idiot.
Yeah, a fool. Yeah.
He was a fool.
Yeah.
As his name is, so is he. Is what Abigail said.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny that he was named as let's call him retard.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of parents were Nabals?
Yeah,
no
geez.
wonder he turned out that
Yeah,
way. Poor
wow.
Nabal.
Yeah.
He's the victim here.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. And also it was accounted.
But yeah,
it was accounted that Abigail, through her actions, preserved David from committing a sin.
Bloodletting.
Yeah.
From killing Nabal and all of the males in the household. So
Yeah,
she
calling upon
prevented him
himself
from
a curse,
sin
yeah.
and kept her husband alive.
Right.
He was killed by God as judgment on him, but he was not
Yeah, but that's God's
murdered.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
he
God's
wasn't
business.
murdered through vengeance
Yeah.
on David's part. So she saved 2 men.
Yes. So, we're not saying here that women have to have this blanket, Muslim type of subservience to their husbands.
Yeah,
But
not automatons.
it is still, I'm sorry, it's in the Bible. Women will look to usurp the men that have been put over them. And God put men over women in a position of authority. Doesn't mean that men are better. It doesn't mean that men are more holy or more sanctified. It's just the structure God built for us.
1 Timothy 2 verse 14 says, quote, "And Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, was in the transgression." Eve was tricked by Satan. She was fooled. Adam willingly and knowingly sinned.
Right.
But Eve was the one who was fooled.
Yes.
And so from this, that is where we are drawing that they are more easily deceived.
Yes.
But
Morally,
that's inherent in their makeup.
right. So, and again, I'll extrapolate the race argument out to the gender or the sex argument, and say that right now we are at a time in history when women have been sort of let loose. And now I don't necessarily want to put the full weight of that on women, because it's been just as well men abdicating their responsibilities to women, which is equally as sinful. It still does not change the fact that having female preachers, having this exorbitant amount of women in leadership roles in private organizations, while that's not explicitly declared
it's clear
sinful.
that it's clear from Scripture as well, like from the Proverbs 31 women,
Right.
that they're capable of being industrious,
Right.
of being good business
Running their own
people.
businesses.
Yes,
Yeah.
of managing households, which if anybody takes 2 seconds to look at a household
Right.
where the woman is managing cooking, cleaning, shopping, children, and especially education in the home, it's a madhouse.
It's a madhouse. It's an insane endeavor to undertake. It requires an incredibly industrious group of people to do that.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, our hats are off.
Yeah,
in
when
that sense.
when we make jokes, because we do both make these jokes, at the women in the office, that expense, I know I'm ride that way harder than Jason does, but when we make those jokes, the joke we're making is to counteract the derision of how hard people have shit on stay-at-home moms, and
yes.
to deny that that's the case, to deny I know several healthcare professionals.
Yeah, so the cultural wave, the overwhelming tsunami of feminism has said stay-at-home moms
are not as important as working fathers. That is
they're not equal.
They're not equal. You cannot receive the same level of fulfillment in the home that a man can in his profession. And what women have found out is that, unfortunately, even men aren't really that fulfilled in their jobs. That is not where they really get fulfillment. It's not the job that gives you fulfillment. It's coming home and going, look at all this food I bought for my family.
Yeah, it's providing for the family.
It's for providing for. So even in men, the place that's the fulfillment still comes from the home. Mm-hmm. It's just in a different way. And so women,
the most satisfying thing to me is not like the work necessarily. I do have a lot of satisfaction depending on the kind of work.
Yeah.
But the most satisfying thing is to come back after knowing I have accomplished something and done well during the day and come home and enjoy that to be with the family.
Yeah.
Because that relaxation time, that family time is possible because of the work I do outside the home.
Right. Yeah. And that's not to say that men and women both cannot find work that they find inherently fulfilling. I think Jason and I both really enjoy.
I've had a number of different jobs, and some are more fulfilling than others.
Yes.
That's pretty clear on the surface. If you had more than one job, you know.
Right. But
I prefer this one over that one.
Yeah. To say that some girl having an email marketing job is somehow equal in its fulfillment innately to a man having an email marketing job is retarded, because the man, I've had an email job. I've been in the trenches with people sitting there. Everyone hates it. Okay. The women are particularly miserable because they don't get to turn around and go home and have this innate God-given, look at the safety and provision that I am creating in this house by going out and laboring in a miserable way. Also, men in particular find purpose in suffering.
Mm-hmm. Way
more than girls do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that is upsetting to you. It is an absurd, I refuse to reference statistics or make some sort of scientific argument there. I'm not going to engage in that game. It is observable to you. And if you deny it, you are lying. Sorry. Now, that's not to say that there are not women who have been called by God to do certain tasks. I love Pride and Prejudice, the book.
Okay.
Love it. Great book, written by a woman. Glad she wrote it. Glad she did what she did. Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
I have not read the books, but I enjoyed the movies very much. The stories and the characters.
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
I would plan to read the books.
Yeah. Mary Poppins, great series of books written by a woman, phenomenal artist. There's lots of music that I enjoy that are written by. I love Joanna Newsom.
Beatrix Potter. I grew up on Beatrix, the Peter Rabbit stories.
Yes, yeah.
Beautifully illustrated books.
Yeah.
Was not looked upon favorably at the time for doing that.
Yeah.
She was not allowed to. She wrote under a pen name, I think, originally. But anyway.
And that was a sin. That was a sin that society was in, that she had to do that. She should be able to write just as Beatrix Potter. She shouldn't have to write as a pen name.
Yeah.
And again, that was a time in history
because she didn't write in under a male pseudonym.
Right, exactly. That was a time in history when things were sinful towards the masculine.
And that would be the patriarchy run amok, we'll say.
Yeah, the patriarchy run amok. Right, exactly.
We are patriarchal, you and I.
Yeah.
In our viewpoints, we think the Bible is, but there are, it can fall off into a ditch on one side.
Yeah. Here's how I kind of say it. I see humanity as a completely, man and woman, as having an archetypical feminine and masculine essence to their being. Women obviously are primarily feminine with a touch of masculine, and men are primarily masculine with a touch of feminine. And so the world is on this scale that goes back and forth between the masculine and the feminine. And it's very rarely just up here where things are balanced and there's no overt masculine sin or overt feminine sin. It's very rare that it's just up here. Sometimes it is, but it's really only when it's on the course to go the other way that it
touches there for a minute.
Yeah, it may touch there for a minute or maybe even stall there for a second. Okay. And there are
it's
times,
off kilter again.
There are times in history where Jason's exactly right. It's patriarchy run amok, masculinity run amok in sin. And there are other times where there's femininity run amok and femininity in sin. Right now, we are well in the camp of femininity being in a state of sin. We are too far towards the feminine boundary. And that doesn't mean that women are the ones we can lay all problems as if they were Jews at their feet.
Yeah.
And say, this is all
ridiculous.
Yeah, this is insanely your fault. Yeah, that's crazy. But it does mean that it is time to reel women in. All right? I'm not saying I don't want female teachers and female CEOs and female doctors and female musicians and female poets. I'm not saying I don't want any of that. What I want is for the general population to recognize that the public sphere is not the sphere of women. It doesn't mean women can't be there. It doesn't mean that we should go, you woman, get out of here. You can't be here right now telling us what you think. That's fine. But we are in a position where the social order has usurped God's order, or is attempting to, and it can't. So it's attempting to, and it's causing misery. But that is where we are right now. And so that's the opinion on girls. I understand that that's probably not going to actually be less controversial than anything we've said in the past. But that is the position. That's the position that we're taking. And to those of you who would say it's because we hate women or think less of them, neither of those things are true. We don't think less of women. We don't hate women. I have 2 daughters and a wife who I love deeply. And it's not when my oldest 3-year-old daughter does something feminine, I don't go, oh, you stupid, I hate girls. I go, wow, look how sweet that is. She's so sweet. And I scoop her up and go, I love you so much, little bug. And it's beautiful. I think women are beautiful, wonderful creations of God. I'm so glad they're here. I'm so glad I'm married to one. I'm infinitely grateful that I get to enjoy the kindness and the sympathy that women are capable of. I benefit so greatly from women rightly ordered, just like women benefit so greatly from men rightly ordered. Mm-hmm. To say that we should only acknowledge that and not acknowledge the fact that men and women are capable of doing great evil upon one another is retarded. It's retarded. And there are times where we're going to make jokes. There's a couple other things I want to say. Women are not, in my estimation, given a lot of the feedback I've gotten that's like, you hate women or whatever, the things these people say, I see women as having more agency than these people do. You know what I mean?
Say again?
Women as having more agency than these people do. Like women are not only super powerful and they should be able to do everything, but they're also never. They're always victims. They're never ever villains.
Right. It's ridiculous. Ever. It's a silly position to maintain.
I think women are purely. I think women are perfectly capable of sinning knowingly. And I think women are perfectly capable of sinning I think women are capable of evil. Sorry. I just do. I think that they're tremendously capable of good, just like men are, given God's empowerment. But just like men, they're tremendously capable of evil. And men are capable of committing genocides and doing all these terrible things and beating people and violence and really aggressive stuff. Women are capable of, what's the C.S. Lewis quote? Let me find it real quick. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. If you think that the people that are most susceptible to that particular brand of tyranny are men, you are retarded. Men are robber barons. Men commit great acts of violence. You will do what I tell you to do, or I will behead you, beat you, some other violent act. Yeah. Women are moral busybodies. That is how they act in tyranny. That is what they do. They are not physically capable, generally speaking, of violence. And when they are, it's because they've appealed to enough men to actually commit the violence. Pol Pot's genocides were not conducted with roaming bands of women.
No.
The Nazis, the guards at Auschwitz, sorry, that was a joke. The guards at Auschwitz were not women. Do we see what I'm saying here? Men are capable of very significant, serious violence, just as sinful. All should be condemned to hell by the grace and mercy of God. We are not. Women are capable of very manipulative, upsetting, life-ruining tyranny.
Well, the whole part that you said in the C.S. Lewis quote about "for our own good,"
right,
brings to mind social welfare programs run amok.
Right. Yeah.
So social welfare after women have gotten into politics in a heavy way.
And it's not even
not in a balancing out men's way of going, hey, we really should take care of some of these people who are less fortunate,
right,
and give them a hand up. It has turned into far more than that.
Right. And it wasn't, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be women specifically that are doing this. Again,
but it's
we're not laying this stuff.
But that is
it's a feminine idea. Yes.
And so you're saying we are saying it is out of balance in the feminine side of the gauge.
Yeah.
And so the reason that most of our comments are hitting at quote unquote women, or really we're hitting at feminism.
Yeah.
We're not hitting at women as people, as individuals. We are hitting at the ideology, the religion of feminism.
Yeah.
That says that women are not only equal to men, but greater, because they can have both a family and a career that are both full-time, and they will be more fulfilled that way.
Right.
They don't have to pick and choose.
Right. They can do it all.
They can do everything.
Yeah.
And
you're so powerful. Your hair's so long. You're so beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, honestly, at the end of the day, like, there's personal stuff too. Like, when my wife quit her job because she was pregnant and it was time to come home.
Yeah.
The tone of voice from her female boss when she quit, I couldn't see her face. She talked about her face later.
Yeah.
The reaction was like, what?
Disgust.
Not even confusion, maybe a little disgust. I don't know, but just like,
okay,
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a little disgust, but it's just like, dude, like,
couldn't even comprehend.
Couldn't even get it in. Yeah.
Because of the indoctrination of feminism.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying.
Yeah. And
that this woman is a victim of that kind of mentality and teaching.
Yeah. And just look up the numbers around women's dissatisfaction.
Why would you want to be a mother when you could be a CEO?
Yeah. Or why would you, just for the average girl, why would you want to be a mother when you could just be a middle manager making $85,000 a year?
Right. Not even
tiny reports. Yeah.
Not,
you don't even get, yeah.
Not the high level stuff.
Yeah. The trade most women are making for this stuff that are making this trade. They're not making this trade to be like gallivanting horse ropers and like,
these aren't
like the heroes of the West.
They're not history makers.
Yeah. They're trading their ability to create life for
average careers,
in an economy where an average career is effectively fake anyways.
So just know that when you hear those comments, that's the group we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we're saying, please take another look at it. It is said in a sometimes antagonistic way, a joking way, a jabbing way, in the hopes that people will think about it. Not just to make people mad, but so that so our goal is not to make people angry so that they don't listen. Our goal is to prick the conscience of people whose consciences need pricking so that they will reconsider and go, is this the way I should be prioritizing my life?
It's also done to make, because we'll talk about this in a second, who the show's for, but it's also done to make the young men that are listening go, wait, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, because if they've grown up in this feminized culture,
right,
they've learned the same things.
Yeah.
And
it's to protect the next generation of young men from making the same mistakes. Mm-hmm. Because that is one of my little brother once was going to get a motorcycle. He survived having a terminal illness that they cured it was going to kill him, and then they cured it. Nobody really kind of expected that to happen except like the people that were in it. But they effectively cured it. They haven't fully cured it, but they stopped its advancement. It's a really effective treatment. It's fantastic. Great. He decides after that he's going to get a motorcycle. And my mom tried to do this whole thing where she was like, oh, you know, the stats and whatever, and making this very like logical, whatever argument. And it just bounced right off of him. Because he was like, I'm getting a motorcycle. They're cool. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting a motorcycle. They're cool. And my mom came to me and said, your little brother's going to get a motorcycle. I'm upset about this. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if that's the exact conversation we had. I don't remember. It was years ago. But we had this conversation. She expressed dissatisfaction because my little brother's going to get a motorcycle. We're in the car together, just me and him, a couple days later. And I just go, Mom said you're going to get a motorcycle, huh? And he goes, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And I said, that is retarded. And he was like, what? And I was like, you survived a terminal illness, so you're just going to buy another one? And that was what I said, and that was what got him to not buy a motorcycle. Men respond very well to comedic ridicule, especially young men. If you want to convince them that something is dumb, or if you want to convince them not to do something, you have to convince them that it's stupid, that it doesn't make any sense, that it's silly, that it's dumb. That's it. That's what you do. And so when we are making jokes at the expense of women in the office or whatever, it's so that we can help young men realize that tying yourself to a careerist, feminized, like overly feminine, a woman who's been a victim of feminism,
overly masculinized through feminism, ironically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Overly masculinized through feminism. Thank you very much for that. When you are, it is a way to help young men go, that is stupid. Why would I want my wife to be subject to another man's rules?
And suddenly, the cognitive dissonance that they've grown up with throughout school clarifies.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think that's a good place to roll into the final segment.
Who's the show for?
We're done with women?
Yeah, we're done with women.
Okay.
That was the big one. That one's the one that we get hit on a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So...
Which makes sense because that's the one that our society is the most in the throes of. So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Who is the target audience of Work Hard? Why do we do this? Who do we do it for?
Mm-hmm.
Who do we want to listen?
Young men between the ages of like 18 and 30.
The ones who are coming into the workforce and marrying age.
Yeah.
And starting families.
Yeah.
And getting their careers off the ground.
Yeah.
Or starting to tangle with problems in their careers, maybe.
Yeah. And so it's not for women, although we know there are women that listen. Some of them disagree, some of them agree.
And sometimes it might be helpful for them to understand where we're going, where we hope society is going.
I mean, I think if you look at the numbers by polling data, information like that, I think this is where society is going.
Hopefully not pendulum swinging, but it's looking like it might.
Yeah, hopefully not pendulum swinging, yeah, but it does look... And that's part of why this exists, by the way, is to try our best to get the pendulum to stop here and not go all over into full Andrew Tate, beat your wife masculinity.
We're not going for burqas.
Yeah, we're not going for burqas. We want to stop here. That's where we want to stop.
In the middle.
Yeah, in the middle.
Is biblical men being head of household and their wives managing households well.
Right.
Whether or not they have a job on the side.
Yeah. Or run their own small business out of the house.
Yes.
My wife's a baker.
Yeah, exactly. Your wife has a small business.
Yeah. I don't go, you stupid
lady,
quit doing this.
Yeah, don't bring any money into this.
Yeah.
Household. That's my job.
Yeah. So yeah, this is for young men. Okay.
We want the needle to stop at the top.
Yeah, we want it to stop at the top in a balanced way.
According to the Bible. So if you...
the needle's decided by Scripture, not by us.
Not by what our personal... Because that's the other accusation that we come across on TikTok is, well, who's to say your idea is righter than mine? Which is a valid question.
Valid question.
And I would say, well, it's not my opinion. I think that's what the Bible says. And if you can convince me by Scripture, we'll quote Martin Luther here, if I can't be convinced by Scripture, I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so,
if you show me a passage and I'm like, I don't think it says that, especially when balanced with this other passage, we can have that discussion.
Right.
But
yeah. So, so the show is for young men. I would also say that if the show makes you homicidally upset, probably not for you. I would turn it off. And that's my advice for people, just on a spiritual level. You should not. I don't engage tremendously with people who believe diametrically opposed things to me. Like, if people believe that my beliefs are like ontologically evil, then I might, check in on them, whatever, something they have to say, just to see
what the other side's
saying.
saying.
Just to test myself and be like, okay, are they right? Am I wrong? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tune in every week to like Chapo Trap House, if that's still a podcast anymore. I don't know if it is, but it was like a super left-leaning podcast back in the day. Yeah. I don't know if they're still around, but I don't tune in every week to that. I don't, I just listen. If it makes you homicidally upset, just turn it off. It's bad for you. I don't want that for you. I actually don't want people to be extremely angry. It's not what I want. I want you to be a little angry. I want you to hear what I have to say and go, that guy's a bigot, whatever, and then be calm enough to walk away and be like, well, he said this, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why? Well,
yeah.
Why would he say that?
Yeah, why would he say that? Yeah, why would he say something like that? Yeah.
If your only response is, that guy's an idiot, then stop listening.
Yeah, but my primary concern, that's a tertiary thing. My primary concern is that there is a wave of young men who are coming behind me who I have struggled with a lot of the same problems that they struggle with. And so far my life has turned out successful based on what I think Scripture defines a successful life like. And so despite these problems that I had early on, and so I feel highly motivated to turn around and say, listen, God taught me this. And when I implemented this, I had a very positive result that I really enjoyed. Yep. And if you implement those things too, I believe that will happen to you. And it is more of a, like, it does feel targeted towards like politically or socially left-leaning people the postmodern world, because we're still very much in that world right now. But I'm very concerned with there's this whole movement right now of young men who are very, very convinced that Hitler was. I'm of the opinion that Hitler was not this like supreme comic book villain that they have him painted out to be.
Okay.
I think that there's some things that he said, some points that he had, you're like, all right, now, do I think that we need to steamroll all of Europe and try to do whatever he was trying to do with the Jews? No. Definitely should probably just execute the guy, whatever. But is he this is nationalism bad? Is Germany evil? Is Hitler born from hell itself? No. But there is a whole group of people who are being hit with the realization that maybe Winston Churchill was getting close to just as bad as Hitler, was just as willing to engage in war, wanted it, was personally responsible with World War II, like just as responsible for it as Hitler was. Maybe Hitler had his own sins that were totally removed from that, but there's good, strong evidence and good argument that Winston Churchill was not a hero. Winston Churchill was an immature alcoholic who had this romanticized idea about war and its beauty, and didn't have a connection with the consequences of his actions. Was not realistic and acted in a childlike way, and it got millions of people killed. There's a pretty good argument for that, and that Hitler and Winston Churchill are equally responsible for the war. It is radically different from what you're taught in school. So these kids are hearing that, and then they're going, we've had this conversation before, where it's like you hear,
you come across some piece of information that casts doubt or
Yeah, now
on
everything
something
is
you were
fake.
taught.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, what else?
Yeah, it's like
could be
Holocaust
wrong?
denial stuff. Like you get told that this person is a Holocaust denier. They say the Holocaust didn't happen and that Jews orchestrated everything and that they're evil. And then you watch the interview with the guy and he's like, yeah, no, I mean, the Germans had a very serious problem. The Nazis were evil and they did something. We don't really know necessarily what they did because they intentionally destroyed the records of what they were doing to try not to go to jail. So we don't really know necessarily what they did. We don't know what the numbers are. It probably wasn't 6 million. He starts sounding really reasonable when right before you started listening to him, somebody was going, he's a maniac. He's this, he's that. He's a crazy part. He does this. He's evil. And then you have a dude in a suit and tie talking in a reasonable tone of voice, saying the most reasonable thing there is ever to say, which is could be this, could be that. And all of a sudden now you jump from him to straight up. Then you do get into like maybe the Holocaust didn't happen.
Crazy
stuff. Last battle in Europa.
Way beyond what that guy in the suit was saying.
Would even agree with.
The guy in the suit is just saying we don't have all the facts.
Right.
It's removed. A lot of stuff was destroyed.
Another great example. Nick Fuentes just.
And this is a very hot. I mean, so I don't. Please don't take this as us.
Jason and I are not saying anything about. We were saying what people are.
Interacting
with,
and the people we're trying to talk to who are coming across this
I
kind
get
of stuff.
concerned when I see people go, Hitler was a good guy. I get concerned when people start saying Hitler wasn't as bad as we say he was. I go, all right, pump the brakes now,
hold
brother.
on. What do you mean?
Let's chill out. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. So that's what Jason and I are saying. People who are
so
huge
that's not
fans
our
of,
statements. That is, we're trying to speak to the people who are wrestling with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
that high level.
Nick Fuentes came out
good and evil
a couple weeks ago.
Who was really evil and good in the past?
Right.
Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Have I been lied to my whole life? Those people who are having this
awakening
moment.
A big part of this show is to bring those guys back into the fold of
grounded
thoughtfulness. Yeah.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah. The I was going to say this. Nick Fuentes. I don't know when he said this. I just saw the clip. It went viral. It's a very popular clip because he was saying racial hatred is bad. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what he said. It went viral, half because people were shocked that he was saying that and being like, oh, I didn't know Nick Fuentes thought racial hatred was bad. I thought he thought it was good.
Thought he was a racist.
Yeah. There was another large group of the population that was responding to that going, Nick Fuentes is getting soft. Now, I am concerned about that group of guys.
Who said that Nick Fuentes
is getting soft. I would like those guys.
He doesn't go hard enough.
Yeah, I would like those guys to get soft with us.
Yeah.
Like, let's bring it back in, brother.
It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah. That's evil. He's right.
Yeah.
It's not good. And so that is who the show's for as well. The show is also for these young men who are being
who would be considered far conservative, like
who are being
radical right,
are actually being radicalized.
Yeah.
And there's a much larger number of them than I think any of you guys are prepared to deal with. And that's a big part of my protest, the thing that I actually gets my collar up a little bit when people start going, you're talking like this, you're talking whatever. I want to immediately go, do you understand what's coming? Do you understand what is coming down the pipe? There are 19-year-old men, a lot of them, who are very, very, very angry. And if there are not enough voices that are sympathetic to their anger, but also reasonable, that anger is going to turn into violence fast. And it is not going to be good or fun. And you will all have to deal. Jordan Peterson has a great thing. He gets real angry about this one thing. He's doing this live stream and he goes, these people talk about, angry young men being confused and misled, whatever. And he goes, so what would happen if you had your druthers? What do you want me to do with them? Kick them? Dismiss them? Call them evil? What do you want me to do with them? I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
Listen, these men are angry. They have been betrayed. They went under the awning and it kept raining on them. They are very, very upset.
It's not fair.
It's not fair, and it isn't fair. And we have a chance here before these guys start having their neural pathways solidified and get tuned in to the wrong person.
to bring them back to a place where rage is not their primary motivator.
Yeah. Trying to stop the pendulum swing midway.
And Nick Fuentes and shows like this and guys like Sam Hyde are your only hope of doing that. They are your only hope. It is not Jake Tapper or who's the guy that does the he was whatever. It was just some celebrity. It is not these people who they specifically identify, these young men specifically identify as the betrayers. It is not a feminine coming in and now, Johnny, that is not okay to think that way. You cannot do that. Reprimanding them with a tight pony. Okay, sorry, I was about to do a bit.
But it's also
coming in and reprimanding them is not going to work.
It's also not the very reasonable, moderate, theological, reasonable types. The R.C. Sproul's, John MacArthur's, those young men are not listening to them.
They're not listening to them anymore.
Okay. So that work hard, we hope, exists because Ethan, at least, is trying to be a bit of a bridge.
Yeah.
He's trying to bridge that gap between biblical Christianity and way off in the swamp radical right.
Right.
And trying to pull them back and also resist the wave of feminism crashing down that is pushing all those young men far to the right.
Right.
Out of rebellion.
Right.
We're saying don't rebel that hard.
Right.
Just stand firm with us in the middle.
Stand with me. Yeah, stand with me right here. Yeah.
Work hard is supposed to be a rallying point.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be a rallying point. And so that's it. That's what the show is for. The show is for young men. The show is for young men who are on both sides of the scale being pushed far in two different directions. But it's for young men. And because it's for young men, it is going to appear crass to people whose sensibilities are not the same as a 19-year-old guy. It just is. There is a reason why my mom did not stand a chance trying to talk my little brother out of getting a motorcycle, but it took me 2 seconds. And I did it in a flippant way, and I called him a retard.
Maybe saved his life.
It's just how young men reason and think. And I am not going to participate in this public school bashing, get these kids on ADHD medication. Being a young man is uncouth and problematic. I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not. I was a young man, and I was in that exact same boat. I was an ANCAP, an anarcho-capitalist. I was like, there should be no government. There should be back in my time, I was like, just get rid of cops, get rid of everything. If you can't protect yourself, you weren't strong enough to survive.
Oh wow.
That's what I thought.
Like full evolutionist.
The only thing that was fair was chaos, because chaos isn't conscious and it doesn't decide. It's just chaos.
Yeah. So
and that's what I was. And it wasn't until this particular message that we are spreading here hit my heart that I went, oh.
That's why you couldn't sleep, right?
Yeah, it's a huge part of why I couldn't sleep. Yeah.
So it's why Work Hard exists. It's why it will continue to exist as long as we feel there's a need for it.
Yeah.
And we are able to do it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it. That's the
But just know that the goal is not to offend for the sake of offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a position I've taken when in the past I would make Facebook posts that were definitely targeted. They were worded in a way to evoke some emotion and therefore to hopefully get people to think about it and engage. And that's why Work Hard is inflammatory to a certain degree. We try not to go overboard on it, but we do want it to be offensive enough that you can't just ignore it, that at least it creates an itch in your brain that you have to mull it over, you have to consider it, and we hope that our listeners will not just say, those guys are idiots and move on.
Yeah.
There will inevitably be those people.
Yeah.
But that's not our goal, and that's not for our target audience.
That's your prerogative. Yeah, you can make that decision for yourself.
Yeah. But just know that our goal, And what I've said before, at least to myself and to my wife, is like, if I wanted to be offensive and just piss people off, I could do it a lot easier than I'm doing it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
We could just get on here and tell racial jokes all the day and be misogynistic.
Yeah.
Up the wazoo.
Yeah.
Deliberately say things that are wrong.
Be Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just pointlessly
antagonize and poke.
Yeah.
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 And mock.
Yeah, it's not what it's for. It's not what it's ever been for. Yeah. So guys, listen, I know, what do I know? I know that the world is a dynamic and fast-moving place, especially now. It doesn't mean that there isn't truth. And it doesn't mean that there's not rocks you can hold on to in the storm so that you're not thrashed about and drowned. I say we because I know Jason is like this too, are on a mission to discover and cling to the truth insofar as God will reveal it to us. And you know, I in the summary that I wrote for the show.
Yeah.
You know,
on Substack.
There have been many great ideas in the last 10 years, but so many of them have missed just off the mark. What we have, God has given us. This show is designed to take the guys who think Shane Gillis is funny, who think, who like the podcast world, who are angry, who are this, who are that. Take those guys and say all of that stuff. Most of it gets pretty close to being good, but it just isn't, because it misses the fact that you are being called to Christ at the end of the day. That's why the doxology is in the front of this. That is why we constantly reference Scripture, constantly reference our own belief in Christ, constantly talk about our own faith, constantly encourage people to go to church, to find women to marry. It is the focal point of this show. The focal point is not to make people realize that feminism is bad. The focal point is to make young men that were like me realize that that following Christ does not mean abandoning yourself and your masculinity and playing game night on a Wednesday at a mixed Bible study. That's not what that means. Being called to Christ means dying to yourself, picking up your hammer, and listening to the instructions that you're given to help build the kingdom, to help work on whatever this plan is that God has for all of us, that he has not revealed in its totality and in its nature, although he's talked to us to some extent about the end point of that plan and what it will look like in its fruition. He has not described to us why this is the plan, what particulars are going on, what role we all as individuals have in that plan. Yet we are called to work to glorify God. That is the plan. That is the thrust, the main goal of the plan. And I just want people of all colors and all sexes, thus two sexes, to understand, to cast themselves on their face before God, to beg for forgiveness, to accept Christ as their Savior. And I believe that the way I can help do that the best is by appealing to this next generation of young men who are confused and scared and angry and lost and need purpose and need a reason to continue pushing on as men and not check out as fat football guys who have kids and wives, but their constant goal is just to get on the golf course. I don't want that. What I want is for guys to realize that it is powerful and fulfilling and much better than a golf course to have a family and be invested in that family and be invested in Scripture and in their faith and in raising Christian children. That's what I want. and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I will not apologize. I will not take things down. I will not back down from doing what I, in prayer and faith, believe is going to be the most productive series of actions to get there. I will not do it. I will not do it. If somebody believes I'm in sin and wants to make the argument, email me, ethan@hyperpremium.co. You can send me the scripture verses and the argument you want to. I doubt you will, because it doesn't seem like anybody... You'll email Jason. That's what you'll do. Guys, hey, so this is a little bit of an addendum. We're not really sure where we're going to drop this yet, but sorry if this is awkward. We're going to put it somewhere in the episode, maybe before the outro, maybe after.
After recording yesterday, I had some additional thoughts, some things that we didn't touch on that I realized we should have touched on in the recording yesterday. So we're going to plug these into the existing episode. You'll notice that our outfits are different, and maybe the lights are swapped. Who knows? But whatever.
Yeah.
Hope you can deal with it. So, first off, there's been a couple of instances of people who had issue with us using the word boobs or tits in reference to women's breasts.
Yeah.
Obviously, the context in which we're using that is, I think, the most important part, whether or not it's in a disrespectful way. So the context is very important. So I'm not going to go back and defend necessarily every time we use that. I'm not talking about the context. This is purely about the verbiage.
Yeah.
Whether or not it is okay to say boobs instead of breasts.
Yeah.
So obviously, the proper term, the proper English is breasts, but I think it is mostly a generational thing. Older generations would prefer the term breasts because it's more dignified. And I think younger generations, Ethan and I both feel that it's just a bit more, it's an awkward
It feels
word.
very strange.
It feels strange to say.
It feels creepy. It feels way creepier than just saying boobs or tits.
Yes. So we're saying it because it's more casual and not because we are objectifying them more in saying the word or talking about them.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily indicates a disrespect to the woman's body saying it that way.
No.
I think it's more just a generational, like, we don't feel comfortable using that word as much. And
I can give you an example.
I don't think any 20-year-old guy says breasts.
My daughter says butt.
Yeah.
And butthole.
Okay. I was not allowed to say butt as a child.
I don't think I was either.
That was swears.
Yeah.
I remember having a Duplo character.
Yeah.
You know, like the giant Legos.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The Duplo characters. And I put him on a block or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I remember making a joke with my siblings. I'm like, there's a block stuck to his butt. It's like, it's forbidden. I can't say that.
My daughter says butt, and she said butt around my parents. She says it all the time now, but she said the first couple times she said it, my dad was like, that is so disorienting. And I was like, what? Like, it didn't even occur to me to not. I was like, what's this? I didn't even know what he's talking about. I was like, would you hit your head? What's going on? And he was like, I was not allowed to say butt when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, that is interesting. As language evolves, there are other words. I mean, it's
just colloquial slang that becomes more acceptable and less crass. Kind of like we were talking about the slurs. Slurs eventually lose their edge.
Yeah.
And it just becomes so normalized, or the initial meaning of the word is so forgotten to history that it doesn't mean anything to 2 or 3 generations later.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's what the point we're making with using those words.
Yeah. And the last thing I would really want to say here is that, there's what I don't know where this is going to end up in the episode. So this may be before or after we talk about who the episode is for.
I think I'm just going to put it all near the end.
Okay. All right. So this will be after we talk about who the episode is for. So that's been established already. I'm pretty passionate about making male sexuality acceptable to men.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe this is not something that I've maybe experienced so much in our church, but coming up like in the evangelical church,
okay,
male sexuality is highly feminized. The way you relate to women is with your feelings, and like this, it's like how do you like, oh, you see your wife and like romancing her is all about like how you feel. And she's just so like, it's so wonderful. And you like hold hands and it's like, and there's just a vibe and like the sun is setting and it's not like, dude, listen.
It's what we'd call gay.
It's what we'd call gay. All right. Now this is not the jokes episode, so I want to make a joke, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm being very serious. This is men like, and to give everybody an olive branch, men enjoy breasts. All right, I'll say breasts for you right here.
We do.
Men enjoy breasts.
Song of Solomon talks pretty openly about that.
Young men enjoy them.
In the Bible.
Yeah, young men enjoy them a lot. Young men enjoy them.
In fact, you ought to. We will say God made them to be enjoyed.
Yes. And now you get one pair.
In the proper
context. You get
context.
one pair. You get to enjoy one pair.
Yes.
You get to enjoy one pair, and that's fine. That's all you ever need. God designed that to be just enough for you, so you should be perfectly satisfied with that one pair.
Yeah.
So choose that pair wisely. But you do very well need to choose the pair. All right? I'm sorry if this is grating to some people. This is the reality, okay? When a young man, a good, faithful, young Christian man in his church decides he likes a woman, her boobs are a pretty big factor. I would say at least 30 to 40% of the reason why he chose that young woman.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'm just a beer drinking jock, so that's a bigger deal to me than it would be for like somebody from Jason's side of the aisle.
The point you were trying to make is that should not be demonized, that you are including that in your criteria.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would broaden that, I guess, to say that you should find her attractive.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
all
you should find that
all you're
attractive
saying. All you're saying, really, if we just take it off the boobs thing, you're saying you should find the girl you're going to marry attractive.
Yes.
No matter what part of the body you are most drawn to as an individual man.
Right.
Whatever. Also, while understanding that age and births and pregnancies will change her body over time, and you need to be understanding of that and prepared for that.
Yeah.
She's not going to look the same in 5, 10 years, 10 years.
Well, that's why the Bible instructs you to enjoy the women of your youth.
Yeah. And then I think I've made this point.
Because that will fade.
Yes. But a deeper connection, I believe, will counterbalance that over time.
Yeah, of course. Of course. All of that stuff is a big caveat here I'm making. I am not saying that you should marry a woman in the same...
And then divorce her when she's ugly and marry another 25-year-old.
Along the same lines, like I think when people hear me talk about this stuff, sometimes they just start to think that I'm talking about choosing a wife on the same lines that a player might choose which woman to bed that night. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. What I'm talking about is that the same mechanics that get a male slut to act that way are the exact same mechanics that are getting a rightfully ordered Christian man to look at it. Here is the catalyst. When you shoot a gun, it hits the little pin, whatever, and then there's the little tiny detonator, whatever that's called, the primer.
Okay.
Whatever, you know what I'm talking about?
And the pin. Okay. Yeah.
The pin
when
hits
the hammer hits the pin, the primer.
Right. The primer. Okay. The primer of
Somebody's going to complain about this terminology.
Fine.
Whatever. We're not huge gun guys. Just
yeah.
Lay off.
You know what? Yeah, we're not huge gun guys. You know what I'm talking about? The little brass, there's the brass, and then there's the little tin silver circle.
With the centerfire cartridges.
Yes, thank you. With the centerfire cartridge.
That I know is right.
Right. So the thing, the mechanism in humanity that has driven nothing else can happen without that little piece of the bullet. If that little piece of the bullet is there, then the pin doesn't matter, the gunpowder doesn't matter, the projectile doesn't matter, the gun doesn't matter, none of it matters. The entire thing that propels humanity forward in its growth and in what we've been charged to do in subduing the earth, fulfilling and subduing the earth, that cannot occur if men do not look at a woman and gain instant physical attraction. It is that instant physical attraction that causes the man to want to talk to the girl, to get to know her and become more deeply attracted to her in a spiritual and beautiful and emotional way.
Unless you met while letter writing,
right?
You have to see her before you talk to her.
Yeah.
So it's that simple.
Yeah.
Don't read too much more into it than that.
Yeah. It's just that simple. And
men ought to be able to find women attractive in a non-lustful way.
Yes.
Key point.
Yeah.
Not undressing her with your eyes and imagining what you would do to her if she was your wife. That's sinful and wrong.
Yeah.
That's the same as fornication, according to the Bible, in your heart. So we are condemning that. That's unbiblical.
Right.
And that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We are talking about noticing a woman who is physically attractive and then desiring to get to know her better and seeing if the rest of her, spiritually, emotionally, whatever.
Rest of her.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, that was a joke. I should have made a joke. It's not a joke episode.
Can't do that here.
Yeah.
Yes, to see if you are actually compatible beyond just physical attraction.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So listen, the word breasts, as fantastic of a word as it is, and it's a word that I'll say jokingly or what, but the word boobs is less clinical. It's less like official. It is more casual. And
we are a more casual generation.
Yeah, we're a more casual generation. This is a casual show. So
we don't mean it. We don't say it to be crass.
Yeah, when I say it, what I want is I have had young men who listen to the show say to me, it has been hard for me to relate to women because the way I relate to women, I do not understand.
Okay.
Because no one has taken the time to spell out to me what is okay and what is not okay as far as how I feel.
Yeah.
And the world at large, both secular and Christian, has done a pretty good job of either outright demonizing or very much watering down the way I feel about women, generally speaking, and the way I feel about the girl that I have a crush on right now.
So definitely incurring a lot of unnecessary guilt and shame over the way you first feel when you see an attractive girl.
Right.
I'd like to get to know her better.
Yeah.
But is that right?
Say what you want about. Yeah, I mean, think about that. So to make that really super practical, like you could say, like, we've got a gentleman who, just hypothetical gentleman, somebody we know, doesn't really exist. This is totally hypothetical. Okay. But let's just say he likes a young woman. Now he likes her. Now he's having all the thoughts that a rightly ordered Christian man would have, right? He's not having degenerate thoughts about this woman. Maybe he's tempted to, but he's being disciplined with his mind.
And he pushes that out when it taps on the door.
He grabs it instantly and pushes it away. He's having rightly ordered thoughts about her, but he's still having very masculine thoughts about her.
Yeah. She is very attractive.
She's very attractive.
My hormones are very high. I'm a young, red-blooded male.
Yes. It is going to occur to him. It is going to occur to him that she has boobs. It is going to occur to him that she has hips.
Somewhere along the line.
Somewhere along the line, it is going to occur to him. Jason, maybe you can push back on me here. Maybe we should take this part out. Maybe it'll be embarrassing for me to say this. I think a rightly ordered thought is still acknowledging that you would like to see them.
I think
I need to go through a series of good behaviors here, of respectful, timely, what's the word? Not wooing.
Wooing's fine.
Yeah,
courtship.
Yeah, courtip. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Courtship's a good word.
I need to go through a time of respectful, proper courtship. I need to get approval from her father. Then we need to get married. Mm-hmm. And then I may see them. And then I may see them.
Yeah.
But
then they are mine.
But also there's a bunch of different thoughts around I want to see them. There's what else needs to happen for this courtship to occur? Mm-hmm. I need to go get a job.
Yeah, I need to be able to provide.
I need to do all these things.
Be a spiritual leader.
Yeah. So I need to get much better versed in my scripture. I need to understand the word of God better. Yep. I need to go get a job. I need to become a man. I have to die. The Peter Pan of me has to die, and I have to become a man. And all of that starts with, I would like to see them.
And I don't think I'll push back on that, actually.
Okay. Well,
I think that's because we are, I think, very much making a distinction between attraction and lust.
Yeah.
Attraction is acknowledgement that a woman's figure is attractive.
Yeah.
And so to me, the logical next step is that, of course, if she was unclothed, she'd be even more beautiful. Her beauty would be revealed.
It would be easier to observe.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate to do so. It's not appropriate to imagine it, but that is your desire, of course, is to have a wife and to see her and to be one physically with her.
Right. And so I think for young men, it is very helpful for them to hear two adult men who are married, who, by the grace of God, have so far conducted ourselves in a rightly ordered way, mostly.
Repented when we haven't.
And repented when we haven't. Yeah, I think it's very helpful for young men to see two guys that are like that go, boobs are nice.
Yeah.
And I'll say boobs.
Yeah.
How you feel is normal and fine.
Yeah.
Don't get upset. Don't get guilty. Don't not talk to her, because that's my concern. Is I'm not sure the way I feel is right.
Right.
And so I'm not going to engage
I
in
don't
this
want to be
behavior at all.
So I don't want to be a creep or a predator.
Right.
If that's what the world is
I
telling
don't
me.
want to feed into. I'm consumed. I don't know what the difference between lust and attraction.
Yes.
And so I don't want to feed into my own lust by going to talk to her. Do I need to go pray away the way God made me in order to be justified in talking to this woman? And then also that feeds into this idea of like, you start to get this feedback loop in your head of, I can't even, back up. If the way a man feels naturally is that God designed him to feel naturally, not naturally, with the corruption of sin, but the way that God designed a man to feel, if he believes by other people's behavior in his life that the way God designed him to feel is actually sinful, then that really starts to build a terrible feedback loop in your head of I'm sexually perverse, I'm this, I'm that, I'm bad, I'm awful, and it degrades his own opinion of himself. He's not a pervert, makes him feel like a pervert, and if you think you're a pervert, you will start to act like a pervert. If you're labeling yourself, I'm a pervert, then what does a pervert do? You're going to start doing things that a pervert does, potentially.
Possibly, or just cloistering yourself away.
Yeah, cloistering. Either way, it's bad.
So yeah, some sort of, it's going to be damaging to your psyche, we'll say.
Yeah, and I was a direct victim of that exact situation, and so my heart goes out to young men who I see suffering from that exact situation. And so if by being a little bit more casual, by making it, guys, let's take a breath, chill out. Male sexuality is not a weapon. It's not evil. Let's all just breathe. You can say boobs. You can think she's hot. It's okay. That's fine. I think that's good and healthy. Now, obviously, there's a reason why we don't, there's other topics that we hammer way more consistently. We kind of speak about that topic in particular in a bubble in its own, we have the bedroom episode and bedroom episode 2, Back to Bed.
Yeah, there's 2 episodes
and
that you should guard your heart when listening to make sure that you're in the right phase of life and mental space to listen to those.
Yeah, but you have to walk a razor's edge when you're taught, and you can hear us kind of trying to stumble through this.
Yeah.
You
so
have
if we
to really
give us a little grace here. We are trying to find the right words to describe a very abstract thing.
Yeah, very abstract thing, and a very dangerous.
The weird line that's very easy to overstep between the physical attraction, seeing that young lady at church who's dressed in a lovely way and appropriately, and then not crossing the line into lust.
Yeah.
Very difficult to come up to that edge and balance on it.
Right.
And not teeter back into going, I'm awful, and then also falling forward into, yes, I am actually sinning.
Yeah. Yes. So it's just, you have to walk a fine line. This is for whatever reason, the Lord decided to make this a extremely difficult topic for men. That is his
a universal experience.
Yeah, and a universal experience, but that's his prerogative. That is a trial he decided to assign to all of us. It is our responsibility to bear it as best we can. But that doesn't mean that replacing the casual term boobs with breasts is the best
going
move.
To fix that.
It's going to fix that, yeah.
No, if anything, it just makes our target audience
more isolated.
These guys don't talk like I talk at all.
Yeah. Or they don't, or they just don't talk any differently from everything else I've ever heard, which hasn't helped.
Yeah, which is the whole point of the podcast, which is to be different than everything else they've heard.
Yeah.
in a positive way.
Yeah. All right. Next up, what do we got?
Next up. We said in the target audience that this is meant for 18 to 30-year-olds. There's the young men who are not quite, quote-unquote, adults yet. The 15 maybe, but definitely 16 to 18 range, a couple years in there, where they're all still living at home. They're under their parents' authority. They're starting to form a lot of ideas on their own, challenge things, and claim for their own a lot of the ideas or reject the ideas that their parents have laid out for them. And so if you're a parent listening to this and you have young men of that age in your home, this part is for you. Should your young men listen to Work Hard or not? Go ahead.
I interject here just real quick? Just before we say that, I do want to say the message directly to these young men who are around the age of 15 or just, you're not an adult yet. Whatever that means to you, the listener, who isn't an adult, I'm talking to you, the young man. You're not an adult yet. You know what that means. If that means that you're 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever, if that means you're 23 and you're addicted to drugs and you can't make decisions well without parental supervision, literally, then that's what that means. Whatever it means, you should not, this is not a children's show. This is not a show. We loosely speak about heavy topics. You should not engage in this content without first consulting your guardian, your parents.
Correct.
Whoever's over you. They need to listen to this first. Before you listen to it, they need to make their own educated decision on whether or not it is a good idea. They know you better than anyone else. They know you better than you know yourself. You need to give this to them, let them listen to it, and then let them decide whether or not it's wise for you to listen to it. That's all I want to say before we address the parents themselves. So
okay, yeah, no, good. So to the parents who have young men in their homes, or young men who aren't men yet.
Yeah.
The older boys, I guess, in the teen range. It depends. I will not say yes or no, they should listen to this.
Well, I think
you are their parent, and you are ultimately responsible for their well-being. If you listen to this content and you are distressed by some of the ideas, maybe it's not for your kid.
Yeah.
I think that if your child has already, I think we said already that a lot of our heart is for kids or young men who are fairly backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's aimed sometimes and it's toned very strongly because it's aimed at young men who are either outside the Christian faith or very young in their faith, or who have not had a positive experience growing up, whatever the case may be. So if your child has grown up in a very stable and very good Christian household and an environment, this may not be the podcast for them.
They might find it shocking and uncouth and not want to hear it at all. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
The caveat to that I will add is that if they are not out in the world yet, they have to be at some point, parents. They're going to be out in the world. I would be highly suspicious if you've managed to keep them from any outside influences other than Ligonier.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised. Doesn't matter if they're going to a Christian classical school. Doesn't matter if they were homeschooled. Doesn't matter, nothing. All right? I was consulting Encyclopedia Britannica offline to learn what sex was when I was, like 13 or something. Yeah. If they are curious, they will find a way. And if they find a way on their own, if you miss the opportunity to be the first to talk to them about something, about big life topics, especially sex, if they are like me, and if they are like many other young men, they are not likely to come to you with their questions because they didn't get the first introduction with you, and they will probably feel guilty over having sought that information out or been exposed to it against their will. I don't know what the stats are now about how many.
That's what happened to me. It was
Hey, look at this picture. Whoa.
Yeah, first time I saw pornography, I was under the age of 5.
Yeah, it's not like you were out there Googling it yourself?
Nope.
No. So with or without your consent, they very likely have been exposed to something.
Yeah.
Which has fueled possibly guilt, possibly sin, possibly just guilt over feeling bad over things they are not their fault and they're just a victim. Any number of circumstances.
Here's what I'll say. And then I think you should read what you read me.
Okay.
I think that was really concise and very well put.
Unlike what I'm doing now.
No, I think you're doing a good job. I think but that what you wrote is good. I would not let my 15-year-old boy listen to this show just unmonitored.
Okay.
There may be entire episodes that I'd be comfortable with him listening to. There's certainly parts of most episodes I'd be comfortable with him listening to. I would not. I would not just every episode that comes out. I see him just listening to just an episode on his phone.
Yeah.
I would be like, okay, buddy, let's listen to that one first, and then decide if you can. Yeah.
Right. Well, and even if he doesn't listen to it on his own, maybe it's something that we bring to your mind that you weren't aware of, that wasn't on the table.
Sure. Yeah.
You go, that's a problem.
Yeah.
2 generations removed from me, that's a problem now? I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's going on the internet? He's likely been exposed to what?
Yeah.
This might be the opportunity for you to learn about things that you didn't know were an issue. And then if you have a good relationship with your child, I sure hope you do. That's wonderful. Then you can bring that to them yourself and then cage it however you find most appropriate. Because we are not their parents.
Right. Which is the key factor there. Yeah.
We are not. So I'm never going to say that any young man, especially still living under his parents' household, should definitely listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so hit him with the good stuff, dude.
Okay. I guess just read the whole summary. All right, so what about young, impressionable men still living at home? Should they listen? Should parents listen first? Good, straight-laced kids might not benefit from it, but a lot of those kids may not be as perfect as they let on. I, for one, was a sneaky liar, and so was pretty much every other guy I knew. Like, everyone had things their parents didn't know about.
Yeah.
They won't tell you because they don't want the lecture, the disapproval, or the guilt. Even if you're not laying that on them thick, they will feel like you might, and there will be a fear of hurting the relationship or of disappointing you. So it's not necessarily that you've been that way. This isn't a judgment towards you parents as a blanket. It's just to say that I, as a young man, discovered things I would have been a lot better off not having discovered on my own. And then for that reason, I really didn't, bring it up with my parents. So the children, those younger people, as they're growing up, might also be done listening to their parents. However, they might, in some circumstances, if they are kind of far off and they're not listening to you, this is for the child is not listening to you, they're almost in rebellion already, they might listen to someone like Ethan, calling them a retard for acting that way, calling them a predator for, getting physical with their girlfriend. It's like, because that is, you should not be getting physical with your girlfriend. She's not your wife. But if a parent says that, hey man, it's really better if God says we should wait until marriage, bounces off until maybe someone who is not quite not an older.
Just stick to that. Yeah, just say you say it so well on there. Just stick with that. You got it.
But they might listen to Ethan calling them a retard for messing around with their girlfriend and calling them a predator. Those kids already think somebody is cool. And after a certain age, it's doubtful it's dad, even if he's a great dad. This might not be a malicious rebellion. They've just tuned out and are sucked into their sin and need to be punched in the proverbial face to wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very good. Yeah, so that's the kids. For kids...
and their parents.
This is not a show that is designed innately for children.
Nope.
It is not designed for you to listen, dads, to just fire this off in the car while you're on the way to
absolutely not
to karate practice or whatever. It's not what this is for. You need to be diligent and serious about what you think is best to expose your children to, in all things, but especially with us. It's not our aim. I think I'll add another caveat. I would have benefited greatly from this when I was 16. When I was 15, 16 years old, this probably would have drastically altered the direction of my life. That being said,
that leads right into my next point, which is why do you do this podcast?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think we touched upon that yesterday. I think the podcast episode last week, you talked about your motivations for work hard.
Yeah.
But anyway,
okay.
Go ahead. Why are you motivated to do this podcast, and what does this podcast do for you?
Yeah. So I've if you're a listener, you know, I've said little bits and pieces here and there that I was saved as an adult. I was 21 when I was saved. Previous to that, I struggled very greatly with substance abuse issues, with the way I treated women, with my heart towards other people. I was in a myriad of different. I was unsaved, and I was in a myriad of different sins, and I struggled greatly. Obviously, the Lord has a plan. So to just lay these problems at the feet of evangelical churches or at the feet of public schools or whatever is not necessarily fair, because God had a plan for me. But I was pretty categorically rejected by the small town Christian world that I lived in. And that rejection developed some pretty tough skin towards religion in general, specifically towards God. I was never really an atheist. I very often would say, when getting into religious conversations with people, I would say, I think that there's probably something out there. And if it's God, then he must be very bitter and wicked. And I don't like him, was kind of my point before. I lay the blame for that suffering that I experienced at the feet of the people and institutions that we attack regularly on this show. If my salvation began, I can kind of say, like, the turning of the tide started, funny enough, with my exposure to Sam Hyde. Because I was Sam Hyde, I say it's funny enough because Sam Hyde has only recently become a Christian. He was an atheist before.
And it showed.
And a problem. But I was exposed to him at 19, and I did not understand that most of my problems were derivative from anger and disillusionment. And I'd never seen anybody talk the way he had talked before and basically validate my way of being, my predispositions. Like, the way that God made me wasn't evil. I'm actually right, and you're all wrong. That was when I was able to begin to actually acknowledge and address the fact that I was furious and betrayed. And Sam Hyde became almost a surrogate father figure. I had a great dad, so it's not like I needed to have a surrogate father figure, but he was a fantastic male influence in my life. And
it just happened to have the antidote for your specific ailment.
For my specific ailment.
Right.
And so that, as I was able to address, subconsciously or otherwise, the fact that I was furious, I was engaged to a young woman, broke up with her, because I realized all the things that Sam Hyde was making. And by the way, the mechanism, the method of action that he used to get these points across that woke me up and that made me feel better was ridicule, was making fun of people who were embodying this system that had done so much wrong to me. And making me go, oh, wait, yeah, that is completely retarded. I am right. That is flippant and stupid that they think that way. That is hypocritical. They are saying this and doing this, and so it was. That's an aside, but.
So it clarified your cognitive dissonance?
Yes, it clarified my cognitive dissonance.
Felt one way, but were told another thing?
Right, exactly. And so it made me realize that it was okay to be how I was. And how I am is irreverent, but deeply sincere, which is a bit of a dichotomy, but...
irreverent, not in regards to... I feel like most Christians listening, especially the parents, would think of irreverent as... specifically relating to God and Christian things. So I don't know if that's the word I would.
No, I guess
I clarify that word just so there's not confusion.
I believe that there is one sacred cow.
Okay. Yeah.
One. Everything else is up for grabs.
Gotcha.
And taking yourself too seriously and believing that I guess one of the things I think about in this context is teachers, how seriously they took themselves and how stupid they all were. Now, not all.
Yes,
not all. I had good teachers.
This is the podcast for non-hyperbolic speech.
Enough
of them.
Enough but it was 51% of the teachers took themselves very seriously and were retarded.
Yeah.
But 49% of the teachers, I have great memories of phenomenal men and women who were in my life because they were my teachers in school.
Not a blanket statement, just enough of them ruined the image.
Right, ruined the image
of the whole.
Yeah.
By being unbearable and hypocritical.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. And so
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
We talked about that in the past podcast. We don't want to be here.
No.
In this situation in America where institutions and experts and whatnot are not trustworthy to us anymore, where we don't inherently trust in authority.
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, long story short, I was in trouble. I was in trouble because we were in the very midst of a system that vilified young men. And you cannot deny that that's true. Young boys were medicated on ADHD. They were expected to sit in public school. How most of them were expected to sit in public schools for 8 hours a day. And if they could not do that in the same way that a young girl could do that, they were medicated. They were disciplined. They were rejected. Everything about the exploratory, conquering sort of nature of young boys was not identified as something useful and wonderful to be molded and crafted into something constructive, but something to just be destroyed and rejected completely.
Now, is this something, this is an observation of yours from personal experience?
Yes, an observation
that a lot of your friends were put on medication to...
Yeah, certainly. But also, I mean, I think that's a pretty well accepted... I don't personally know anybody who would make the argument that ADHD medications, Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse, that these things are not overprescribed and that they're not particularly overprescribed in the demographic of little boys. I would be very surprised to hear somebody try to argue that against me, and that argument would be very short.
Okay.
And that's just one example of, I think, the method at which that's occurred. I think you can get a little bit more abstract in things that are my opinion, having things like having Catcher in the Rye being required reading, and the one with Atticus Finch. What's that book? To Kill a Mockingbird? Is that what it is? Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird being required reading. These are extremely neurotic books about... Atticus Finch is a stalwart individual that's like this gray area. He's not like a hero. He's like there's a whole thing. I'm not going to go into it. It's not time for it. Here's the thrust of it. I was saved after a long battle with like the world itself. And shortly after I was saved, I still struggled very deeply with those sins. The Lord it wasn't an instant change. I've talked about that before. I went off to college after I was saved. I was in college while I was saved, and then I moved out of my house and went off to college after being saved, and still very much struggled with the exact same sins. Now, they were to a far less degree, and my life was much more structured, and they fell off quickly, such that the substance abuse problem ended quickly after I was saved, at about a year, maybe a year or two after I was saved. And my treatment of women was much faster. That got better much faster. But I still struggled. And as those struggles started to wane and fall off, I started to feel a very intense dread and anxiety. And I've talked to you about this. I've talked to a couple of our other brothers about this, but I effectively stopped being able to sleep around 23 or 24, somewhere in there. And I would pull myself up out of my sleep like this and grasp at the air. And I had this sense that I had work to do. That was the sense I kept having, that I had work to do, and I'd like grasp it like a computer or my hands were moving. I'd wake up like this, like grasping at tools or something. And I had this intense sense that there was a deadline I was not hitting. I was going to get fired from my job. I had work to do. And that persisted. It subsided as hyperpremium became a thing. It did not entirely end. It still struggled with me till after we met. And then ultimately when I asked you to work with me and we became partners and you came in and got hyperpremium where it started moving it forward in a consistent, industrious way, all of a sudden I could sleep. And doing work hard consistently and saying the things that I am saying have allowed me to sleep. I feel an intense level of anxiety and dread. The way I've been saying it recently is that I have to do this. I have a message. I have something to say. The totality of that message I don't quite understand. I'm less concerned with that and more concerned with each individual word coming from my mouth being in line with God. But I have something to say. I have a message to give, and I give it lest I be swallowed by a whale. That is the feeling.
Yeah.
If I do not do this, I'm going to die. That's how it feels.
A matter of survival for you.
Yes.
Is what it feels like.
Yeah. And so that's my motivation, is that I am deeply concerned with the well-being of guys like me who take all shape and form. I was a punk rock kid, but my heart goes, I transitioned to being a frat guy, and that's kind of the identity I've stuck with moving forward. I have experienced 51% of the guys I have met in my life as a young man, other young men, are in some form of suffering that is extremely similar to the suffering I went through. And many of them I've watched grow up and seen the results of their lives, and many of them have good lives. Many of them don't, but all of them still it feels like if you tapped on their chest, you'd hear an echo. They just long. They just long. They yearn, as it is in Seinfeld. Have you ever yearned? They yearn. And my heart breaks for those guys. My heart breaks for the next generation of guys coming up behind us and the generation behind them. They are just as, if not more, tortured. And that is what I'm concerned with as far as this show goes. That's why I do this show, for the young men, for those guys. Now, the bulk of what Hyper Premium will do is for a broader objective entirely. But this show exists because if it doesn't,
you don't have peace.
I don't have peace. And I believe that's because I believe sincerely, I've come to this belief through prayer and consultation with Scripture and with intelligent men. I believe that I don't have peace if I don't do this because this is what God wants me to do.
So it's a calling.
It's a calling.
So, why do I do this podcast? Why do I associate myself with Ethan?
The likes
Some
of me.
might ask.
Yeah.
Some have asked.
Some have asked. Some have asked.
Yeah, there's been a couple questions. Because there's no other, well, one, I believe Ethan to be a faithful and earnest man, flawed in certain ways, different ways than my own flawed self, but faithful and earnest nonetheless. And this project, this podcast, there's no other Christian that I'm aware of, at least not on a big level, doing this kind of podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast is meant to fill an empty space. There was a vacuum, and so it had to be filled. So this podcast was born.
Yeah.
And is continuing to be developed to try and fit that space better and in a more and more God-glorifying way. That's an ongoing journey. I've said that to people. We've made changes. We talked about this already. I won't rehash it. So I believe in the mission that Ethan has talked about. While I did not experience that, I don't have Ethan's exact background. But I can certainly see that a lot of young men in America are in a rough way, and they need someone to aspire to. And I think it's very clear from interacting with Ethan and just seeing him out and about, young guys flock around him. They are naturally drawn to him because he is charismatic, and so he is a figure that they will flock to regardless, and that can be used for the furtherance of God's glory and in bringing them away from other actually negative influences that are equally pragmatic. It's the wrong word.
Charismatic?
Charismatic, thank you. Equally charismatic. Butchered that sentence.
That is what it is.
Oh, well. So I believe in that mission. So I don't feel a lot of those young men are not going to listen to anyone that your typical dignified, reformed Protestant type would put a stamp of approval on. I'll say Ligonier again. I love Ligonier. Ligonier puts out great stuff, phenomenal stuff. But a lot of young men not listening to the heady theology and that kind of advice from, sweater vest wearers, to put a good visual point on it. So therefore, I'm willing to be a somewhat controversial figure, even if the only controversy is by way of association with Ethan. I'm sure I've said things myself that are controversial before this podcast, deliberately to provoke thought and discourse because there is something deeply wrong in our country. So this provided, when Ethan, you remember this, when you called me and asked me to be on this podcast, I said, I will do it if it can be a witness. I am not interested in doing a podcast just purely for the sake of burning an hour every week just talking.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
To me, that was not worth the time away from my family. But when you talked about the mission for it, say, yes, this is an opportunity to witness for, you explained it lightly, I think, back then, and you explained more your backstory in depth just earlier this year to me. So it took on a whole new, dimension of depth to me. I realized how much more important it was to you than I previously knew. What has bothered me over my life is the lack of Christian men who are willing to participate in gritty, real conversations, like in-depth, gritty conversations, or willing to talk about things that, teetotalers, pearl clutchers are not willing to talk about because it's undignified or it's unchristian, quote unquote. Like, let's talk about Song of Solomon stuff if that's what's needed. Let's talk about pornography addiction. It's uncomfortable. It's horrible. But let's talk about it. That's why we need to talk about it.
To interject as well, it's not just that we need to talk about it. It's that I believe, and I think Jason also believes, that it's effective to a particular demographic of young men to talk about it the way we talk about it.
Correct.
Versus the way maybe like a Doug Wilson or
right.
or guys at Ligonier would talk about it. We talk about it in a different way that is approachable to hat backwards,
accessible,
beer drinking, frat guys like me.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that I don't want to be is like a seeker-friendly.
Yeah.
Like a seeker-friendly church that just lowers the bar so much. That is a danger, I think, in saying we're just going to... You could easily say, well, you're getting in the muck, you're talking like the world, you're being like the world under the pretense of bringing them to Christ, but what are you bringing them to if you're just as mucky as they are? Mm-hmm. And so I think the line that we are trying to walk, and again, it's constantly in development, and our consciences, if they are, scorched by something, we pull back and we repent of it and we change the way we're talking about something. I don't think it's necessarily seeker-friendly to use certain terms as long as they are not sinful or biblical. We are talking about them in just a real-life, blue-collar way, I guess is how I would preface it. And you don't send... The people who are most effective for talking to drug addicts and, bike gang members are former drug addicts and bike gang members who are now free and clear of it, because they can say, I was like you.
I am like you.
No, I was.
Well, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I am like you in the sense that I've walked your path. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And that's what we are trying to do with this podcast is say, I understand where you are. I've been there myself. I have the same inclinations, the same sinful inclinations. I've fallen prey to that. And let me tell you, it goes to hell.
Yeah.
You need to come over here. Get behind the fence that we're behind. Come to Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this to address, because we have had the seeker-friendly stuff brought up to us before in the past as well. And so I would say this. This is the way I like to think about it, is there's the standard. We are not attempting to move the standard closer to these guys so that it's lower for them and easier for them to access. All we are doing, all I want to do here is show these guys that this standard is actually sick. It's actually cool.
Yeah.
That so far the presentation of this standard has been the evangelical Jesus is my boy. Well, it's not even this standard, but the presentation of anything close to this standard has been either evangelical Jesus is my boyfriend. We're gonna sing kumbaya songs that my specific worship pastor wrote.
Yeah.
He's wearing a hat and boots. That's one standard. Now that is not attractive to anyone, to any guy like me. We think that that's gay. Okay. And I don't mean that in a joking way. I mean, we think it's soft. We think it is not approachable and effeminate. We're not interested.
Something you want to be a part of.
The other side is the side that I already love. I know to love this side. This sweater vest wearing, I like the smell of new books. Look at my pipe. I'm kind of a dork. Homeschool kid side of things, which is also not appealing to these guys. What I am trying to do...
To what you were when you were 16.
Right, to what I was when I was 16.
16-year-old Ethan
23.
Would have gone, weirdos, dorks.
Dorks, homeschool kids.
Yeah.
They don't know anything.
Yeah.
They don't know how to interact with the world. They
don't know what's
talk
out
to them.
here.
They're so awkward. They're so, whatever.
Yeah.
What I am trying to say to these people is not the standard can move towards you. It's that you ought to move to this standard because it isn't just dorks and it isn't just the effeminate. It's actually includes us too. It includes us too.
Yeah.
And so you can join me over here. Look how sick this is.
Christ is for everyone.
Yeah, Christ is for everyone.
And this podcast is aimed towards a fairly specific demographic of young men who are disenfranchised with the effeminate and with the dorky.
Yeah.
Uncool things.
Yeah. And what that also means is that when the effeminate and the dorky hear this and see this, they're going to go, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's totally fine for you guys to have that experience. Just know that I don't have that experience of either of y'all.
And they don't have that experience of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, of each other. Yeah. So you guys are having this like you're out of your mind experience, and I'm going, well, I understand you perfectly fine. I understand that this is new. We have not done this middle thing before, but here I am, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to take the line closer to these gentlemen so that they can somehow pretend to be Christian.
Yeah. It's okay to have a girl on the side just so long as you still profess Christ. We're not saying it's okay to shoot up heroin every other week.
Yeah, dude, you can get blackout drunk and throw up every Friday night just as long as you're
you're in church
on Sunday.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
no.
What we're saying.
No.
That's retarded.
That is retarded. I'm just finding a cool way to say that that's retarded. I'm finding a cooler way than either of you guys know to talk about this standard. That's what I'm doing. I'm finding a better, cooler, edgier way to talk about this standard. And that that cooler, edgier way is more tailored and is more effective. Yeah, not better, tailored. Is more effective to reaching guys like me.
It's better for that specific evangelism.
Yes.
So we are seeking to understand that aspect of the world well enough to evangelize it, not to be part of it.
Right. To help them reject it.
Yes.
And come to our side. Yeah.
Yes. All right. One last thing. Expertise.
Yes, expertise.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think that this is probably this is not specific to us. This is like the number one critique I see of like any like the podcasting idea conceptually.
Right.
Just
any non-professional.
Right. Is speaking on things you're not an expert in. Now, here's what I'll say. I have had, personally, anecdotally speaking, I've had infinity experiences where the person, the expert...
Yes. Impossible?
Yeah, exactly. I've been hit with experts constantly. I was one of the very first arguments I ever got, one of the very big arguments I got in school. There was a protest, and I went. And it was a SJW protest. And I went, and I was like, I'm definitely arguing with all of you. So I got there and started arguing, and in the midst of my arguing, a professor pushed her way, after listening to me for some time, pushed her way into the crowd and said to me, I have a doctorate in gender studies and racial whatever. I've studied this my whole life. She's like 40, so maybe, I guess, for 20 years. And I'm telling you right now, you just don't know what you're talking about. And I said to her, I'm telling you right now, you wasted $20,000 in taxpayer money because I assume you didn't pay for that degree yourself. And I think it was worthless, and I don't care. And she got furious. Now, that's the exact attitude I have towards the experts.
There was air quotes there for Substack listeners.
Yeah. That does not mean that I think that diligent, intelligent professionals who are pursuing truth are not worth listening to. That I think that
correct.
That just every doctor is a liar, that every lawyer is a liar, that every
professor is a liar.
Every professor is a liar. Again, 51%. There's not
an actual statistic, just enough of the majority to make a difference and damage the image of all.
Right. Yeah. And so here's the thing: is that like as an expert, you lose your ability to speak to things when you start making semantic arguments against what everyone else is doing, which is arguing for the spirit of the thing, which is something we get hit with a lot. The particulars of numbers that we cite or whatever, where it's like we're 2 million off of a number of 20 million people or whatever, and they're like, you didn't even look it up. I'm like, okay, well, you changed the number we were off by less than 10%. So it doesn't actually change the argument at all that we were making.
The spirit of the argument.
It's the spirit of the argument. And so when experts engage with this...
Like getting a speeding ticket for driving 52 in a 50-mile-per-hour zone.
Right. You know that cop's just being cruel.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I do want to... I want to... Here's what I want. Here's what I actually want. I want the argument from authority to work.
Yeah, that's all.
That's it. I just want to. I want to be able to trust you. So I don't want to have to think about all this stuff.
The point is that if you are an expert, you have to demonstrate expertise.
Yeah.
We are past the point of hearing that you have whatever letters behind your name and automatically taking everything you say as the word of God.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Because myocarditis is on the warning label of the COVID vaccine, correct?
Let's look that up.
We will check that.
Yeah, let's look it up. There's all manner of warnings, and while we're talking about that, let's see. We can talk about the FDA approves required updated warning on the label of RNA vaccines. So updated warning for myocarditis and pericarditis. The warning on myocarditis and whatever the other P word is that I can't pronounce. Now, here we go. Again, experts, you have a chance. Yeah, pericarditis, whatever. Experts, you have a chance to go, well, your gut reaction, maybe he can't even pronounce it, so how could he even talk about it? Whatever. If you have that response, I promise you, it does not have the effect you think it has. People see that and they go, this dude is a stick up his butt dork, and this other guy is at least trying to argue in good faith. So I'm going to listen to this guy, or at least I'm going to look it up on my own. You do not like being like whatever. You get the point that I'm making. But anyways,
the point is that there were warning labels on things that came long after the general knowledge in the alt news world that these were a problem.
Yeah. So when the COVID vaccine came out, it was supposed to be completely safe. Myocarditis was a conspiracy theory. I remember that.
Yeah, safe and effective.
Now,
over and over
safe
again.
and effective
to the point
over and
where
over
it's
again.
A meme.
Yeah, to the point. Yeah, that's literally true.
It's a ridiculous.
We wrote the phrase "safe and effective" into Goodman's because it's such a mimetic tool.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so they updated, and I remember this specific conspiracy theory in quotes for the listeners. The specific conspiracy theory was that young male athletes were going to get myocarditis and die. And they were talking about, and this happened because remember all those soccer players died on the field, like 2 or 3, not all, 2, maybe 3 of them, but I think it might have been 1 or 2. But
we'll just say generally athletes died.
I remember, I think you can look this up if you can still find it. I think it happened to a high school football player who died on the field. It was specific that it was young men.
Males, yes.
Young males. I remember one of the Mexican kids I boxed with going to get the vaccine so that he could get a job. And I said, dude, you should not get the second one. And his face got all serious and he's like, why? And I was like, bro, there's a risk that you could have a heart attack or like a whatever. And he was like, okay. And he walked off.
Again,
he came back
layman
to me.
Speak for some heart problem.
Right, yeah. So I don't know, yeah. And so he comes back and he's like, this is funny. He goes, all right, tell me more. He said, dude, white people are the ones that know about this stuff. You got to tell me what you know. Like, what's going on?
White people? What?
Yeah, white people are the ones that know about this kind of stuff. and so
they're all in that alt news.
Yeah.
All of them are, what's the deal?
Yeah. So anyways, after years of being told.
Neurotic white people.
Yeah, all those neurotic white people. Always always worried about the dangers. After years of being told over and over and over again by the experts in the field that this is not a risk, the FDA has come back and updated the warning label specifically to indicate that myocarditis is a risk of the COVID vaccine for males between 12 and 24.
What do you know?
So the exact, and that is from the FDA's website. I just read it. So that is, I'm sorry. There is no more expertise.
That is just our number one example in recent years of the biggest wake-up call for the most conservatives.
Yeah.
Or conservative, the red pilling effect is going, oh my goodness, our government and the experts in the medical field said this was safe.
Yeah.
And now our young men are dying.
Right.
After we trusted them.
And maybe
this is not a blanket statement about all doctors.
Right.
It's not. Don't take it as that. It is saying that enough of the establishment went along with it. We also, during COVID, saw many doctors lose their licenses and were silenced online. That's also, you can look that up, And Zuckerberg acknowledged that they silenced a lot of stuff about vaccine concern on Facebook.
Yeah.
During that time. There were people who were concerned. They were not allowed to even air their concerns.
Right.
So after having that pounding for 3 years, whatever
something
it was,
like that, yeah,
we don't trust the established authority anymore. They have shot themselves in both feet and knees.
Yeah, and everybody recognizes now that maybe, look, this is one of the things that I recognize. I don't begrudge doctors. I don't begrudge professors. I don't begrudge experts. I just am now aware that they are human beings.
Yes.
And that they are just as susceptible to bias and manipulation and corruption.
Indoctrination.
From
their institutions.
And mistakes as everyone else. And they just so happen to be in charge of some very, very, very important functions in society. And so they are going to come under intense levels of whatever the word is, investigation, I guess. We'll go with investigation. And so all of that to say, are Jason and I experts? No. I think Jason's an expert he's spoken at an expert level about a couple things. I think I can speak at an expert level about a couple things, just like everyone else can. But what I want to see more often is the elevation of reason. When you hit me with the vaccines are safe and effective, and I go, what's an adjuvant? And they go, don't worry about it. And I go, I'm worried about it. Tell me what an adjuvant is. And they go, oh, it's a metal. And you go, okay, what does it do? And they go, it irritates the immune system so that it has an immune response to the dead vaccine we've put in this, to the dead virus we put in this vaccine. You go, okay, so it's causing an immune response. Your immune system's... Guys, sorry, we overheated the camera. We're going to wrap this up. This one's gone on a lot longer than we expected.
Yeah.
We're doing a little bit of rambling this time. Listen, here's the point. Expertise is not currently something anybody can really lay claim to right now. It's not productive. It's not helpful. No one cares. And so right now, it's kind of every man for himself. We're all having to suss things out on our own.
Which is not ideal.
Not ideal. And so we would like to see a return of experts, people who actually diligently are doing what they need to be doing to understand the truth.
I think all that would take is enough of them coming forward and saying, yes, there have been problems. Here's the data we have. Here's why, and explaining it and knowing how to communicate that to laymen to regain that trust.
Yeah.
It's not just saying you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
That accomplishes nothing, and it will only further the divide.
Yeah.
We know that we're not experts.
Right.
We're stumbling along because our trust has been obliterated.
Yeah.
That's why. So that's an explanation of why we talk about the things we talk about in that manner. We are not experts. We do not provide financial advice. We do not provide medical advice. These are things that everything we say should be, if you make any choices, you should be doing your own research is what we're saying. Trust who you believe is trustworthy, expert or not. I mean, they should be well-versed in whatever they are talking about, and we're not saying we're the people for that. We're simply talking about our own observations and hang-ups with the quote-unquote expert class.
Right.
And saying that elite class has lost its gumption.
Or its right to claim its status as an elite class. Yeah. And so
unfortunately, and a lot of them are not that way.
A lot of them are not that way. Yeah.
So
guys, all right, that's it. We're done. I guess we'll have an outro after this. Boom. Guys, we love you. We are praying for you. We do want you to go to church. At that church, we want you to find a woman. We want you to marry her. With that woman, we want you to
have some babies.
Guys, please let go of the anger. Let go of the femininity. Turn to Christ. Repent. Be a man. See you next week.